All right, hello and welcome, everyone.
Yeah, welcome.
We are going to be doing... I'm giving my review on The Force Awakens. This is going to be a three-part series in which I am going over the three sequel Star Wars films, and I will be giving my in-depth review on each film, going into it with the ideas and the mindset of how I would have originally approached them had I not had any information going into them. So, if I hadn't kept up with the news or any of the, big announcements and just gone to the theater and seen the movie.
Sure.
So with that, today we're going over my review of The Force Awakens.
Yep.
And I've got quite a few notes here, to say the least.
Now, before we
Go ahead.
Well, before we talk about your notes, what was your initial assumptions when you rewatched the movie? Before you actually started it, what did you expect to see? Or, what did you expect?
So, I went in with the mindset of watching it...
Thank you.
Yeah.
The resub, yeah.
I went in with the mindset of... The last movie that had released was Episode 3, which had come off of the Extended Universe TV show and the Dark Horse comics, and was faithful to all of those.
And the two Clone Wars animations, too, remember?
Just the first Clone Wars. The second Clone Wars animation didn't come out until after the third one.
Oh, okay. You know what I'm talking about, the two-part animated thing.
Do you mean the 2D animated one?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one and the Dark Horse comics. Yeah. That's what I meant by the TV show.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. But both of those were technically extended universe content, and Episode 3 literally directly pulled from both of those.
Okay, cool.
Literally Episode 3 kicks off with General Grievous having kidnapped Palpatine, which is exactly where the Clone Wars ended.
That's the best transition I've ever seen.
As well as Anakin's scar on his face is from his fight with Ventress.
Right. It's so perfect.
Everything in the movie is literally a direct sequel of the extended universe content.
Yeah.
So going into Episode 7.
It's 7. Don't dare try and say its name is 6.
I'm trying to remember which one. We're at a lot of movies here.
Return of the Jedi was 6.
Yes.
Don't disrespect
going into Episode 7, with the idea that it's going to stay somewhat true to the extended universe. Again, I'm going in with the idea that I hadn't heard any news. Because in reality, when the movie first came out, I heard all the news. I heard that they had decannoned everything. I heard that they were writing their own universe, but counting it as the new canon, and everything that had been written over the last 20 years was no longer canon. It was a whole thing.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of that soured me on these movies originally. So now I'm making sure that as I go back and I rewatch these films, I am going in with the mindset of just being a Star Wars fan watching these films and how I would have approached it and watched it with that mindset.
Yeah. And keep in mind, you'll notice this even in The Force Awakens. They do more of it later in the other movies, but in The Force Awakens, they actually pull from the books that was originally created with George Lucas's approval.
Oh, absolutely. There is a lot of stuff that has been taken from the extended universe, but twisted in weird ways.
Exactly.
And we'll go over that kind of as at the end.
Well, because they do
a lot of
stuff,
the influences.
Something to keep. It was weird.
Kylo, Ben Solo in general is 3 different characters from the extended universe shoved into one.
Which is horrifying, but
whatever. It's absolutely horrifying.
I hated it so much. Whatever.
Especially
because that means there's no Anakin. It's got Solo.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems, but we're gonna go through it again, just going into it as my review of the movie and how I reacted to it with the idea that it was simply the next Star Wars film.
Yep, and
go ahead.
In the credits, I think in the opening credit crawl, it says it's been 30 years, right? Am I wrong about that? I thought it's been a while since I've seen the opening credit crawl for 7, but I believe it mentions how much time has passed. Yes?
It doesn't.
Oh, really? Oh.
It does not mention how much time has passed, and actually, the credit crawl was my first note here on the movie.
I figured.
The opening credit crawl, not only does it not mention how much time has passed, so we have no idea what the time setting is.
Okay.
It does imply that the Republic not only knows about the search for Luke, but okayed the mission.
Oh, there's a mission
And
from
that,
the Republic.
yeah,
Okay.
that General Leia of the Republic issued this mission and sent her top agent to go find Luke.
Okay, cool.
And that it also implies that the Imperial, or the First Order, is literally an equal threat to the Empire at the height of its power.
Okay, so it's like just like almost a you'd assume it's like a splinter from the Empire that probably just survived or something from Coruscant or something like that.
It's really weird. So that opening, it doesn't establish much, and I think that's one of the things that we'll see a lot as I go through my review. There's a lot of stuff that they expected you to know when they rewrote a lot of shit that had been out for 20 years.
Well, that's a hip. Well, shit. This is gonna take forever to go through this, isn't it? So just in that fact alone, because they decanted it, you don't know what they expect you to know or not.
Right, and so this is kind of the First Order is a completely new entity.
Right.
Because in the extended universe, we had the Imperial's Hand.
Or the Imperial Remnant.
Right. And both of those were two very separate entities that both had their own gimmicks and their own rulers and had different heights of powers and different falls in power.
Yeah.
And so we have no understanding of what the First Order is, but again, we're going into it completely with the idea that this is what we're seeing. So
they combine the two together. That's kind of
as far as far as reading the opening text crawl, I was like, okay, Luke is missing. It doesn't say why he's missing, but he's missing.
That's fine.
And this First Order has risen to enough power that it is destroying the Republic, and they need Luke back.
Yep,
that is the opening text scroll.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay.
I didn't mind not knowing where Luke was. It's a mystery. That's the point of it.
Not knowing where Luke was isn't a problem. Yeah, that's a fine main story for the biggest thing is I have no context. Yep. So we're going to go ahead and immediately go to my my third note, which is continues the trope of every Star Wars movie starting in space, which I thought was a good trope to continue.
Yep.
Great. A lot of my notes, by the way, are very literally scene by scene.
That's perfectly fine. We can break it down.
So yeah.
And now you did finish the movie, right?
I did. I did finish the movie.
I hate to jump to an overall summary right away, but I don't want to forget about it later. How much of this felt like A New Hope?
I'll be honest, there is a lot less references to New Hope than I actually remembered. There is a surprise rewatching it and going into it without the initial rage. And actually I watched this movie very calmly, surprisingly.
Well, it's the nicest one.
But going into it, rewatching it, I would say 2/3 of this movie are fucking great, are a good movie.
Yeah.
And 1/3 of the movie is fucking garbage.
Yeah.
And that 1/3, I will say, is not all at one time. It is weird little things sprinkled throughout the movie that don't make sense. But actually, as far as A New Hope, there is a lot of New Hope references, but also not enough that it overshadows the rest of the film.
Well, to me, when I watched it, like when I finished it, I realized it felt like I just rewatched it. We now have control of Objective Bravo.
See, and that's what I felt like when I first watched it. But going back and watching it again, it really does have a lot of its own merits. And there's actually not that much A New Hope. I think it was just very... I think, especially because of a lot of the news we had when it was first coming out, the decanonization of everything Extended Universe, the continuation, and we weren't sure what was going on. There was a lot of emotion going into it that it put all of us in kind of a bad mood when this movie came out. So we nitpicked the fuck out of this movie. Yeah. Again, I think that's why it's good to come back to it now, because I feel like at least with The Force Awakens, after having seen it, it feels like a prequel moment. Where when the prequels came out, all the original trilogy fans hated them. They thought they were horrible. And then after a few years went by, they went back and they rewatched them and was like, actually, these are really good.
They're pretty good, except for the writing in the first one. It's still garbage writing, I'm sorry.
The writing in the first one's not that bad. The second one has the worst writing.
I think George Lucas
Jar Jar is not flawed. People's perception of what he is flawed.
Anyway, fuck, I don't want to get too off topic. Your notes, so, you were on note 3 out of 169?
Yes. So yeah, they start off in space, which is great. And then something that did bug me is the drop ships have like strobe lights going on when they're coming down to the planet.
Well,
because they're above Jakku and they come flying down, and on the inside of the ship, it's like strobe lighty.
Yeah.
Like the ship is barely holding together.
Well, you'll notice they didn't take a Lambda shuttle to the planet.
No, yeah, well, here's the thing, right? So the soldiers don't take a Lambda shuttle, but Kylo does. He brings his own version, which is a bit bigger. But the ones that the soldiers flying out in is almost a direct U-boat from World War One or World War Two.
Pretty much. Yeah.
But the problem with that is that because it's like shaky and like the lighting's flickering and it feels like a ship that's currently under fire or about to fall apart, it immediately contradicts the opening text crawl that implies the Imperial Remnant or the First Order is like a galactic threat. Because you just told me that these guys are kicking the shit out of the Republic, and then the first thing you show of me is that they're in a rickety garbage truck. You know, like,
yeah.
Also just strobe light heavy on that opening scene. It only goes on for about 10 seconds, but there was so much strobe light, I felt like it was in a Spirit Halloween with the lights turned off. So then we go on to note 4, which is, I still don't like the look of the First Order. They're fucking smiling stormtroopers. It really kills the intimidation for me.
They're First Order.
They do refer to themselves as stormtroopers in the movie.
Do they? I forgot that.
Finn refers to them as he was a stormtrooper.
Well, shit. Okay.
Yeah, so they are stormtroopers, and they look fucking ridiculous with the big smiley faces.
Which, for the
I
record,
still do not find them looking any bit good.
It does imply to someone who wouldn't know any better that this is still a continuation of the Emperor's Empire, then, if they're still stormtroopers.
Well, and I think because the big theme, right? Because we have to touch on this because it was the big thing about this movie. The big theme of this movie, especially with the Supreme Leader Snoke, is that they are neo-Nazis.
Yeah.
The First Order is just fucking neo-Nazis.
Pretty much. Yeah.
They're even more extreme than the originals. They're assholes. They're supremacists. They're a cult. They're insane.
Yep.
And again, this is where I have an issue with the smiley face on the helmet.
Kind of like a Joker feel, you know?
No, it doesn't, because if it was like a Joker weird deranged smiley face, I don't feel like the smiley face was intentional. I feel like they over-engineered the helmet to try and make it look sleek, and it came out looking ridiculous.
Yeah, now they look more like bucketheads.
Right! Where like the original ones kind of looked like a fucking helmet.
Well, they look like
it's a helmet. Yeah, it's a gas mask built into a helmet, which actually even more so the First Order, later in the movie, Finn will point out that the First Order's helmets only vents out smoke and not gas, proving that the First Order troopers are actually worse off than the original stormtroopers whose suits did naturally filter out gas.
Right.
So, yeah. Going on to my next one, which is... I still don't like BB-8 appears on screen looking at the shuttles coming in, and I still don't like his fucking design.
Yeah, it's stupid. Oh, fuck, hold on my dog. God damn it. Uh,
For anyone who doesn't know, or I'm sure you do, but BB-8 is a soccer ball with a little head on top.
Yeah, he doesn't make sense.
Yeah, logistically he doesn't make sense, and practicality he doesn't make sense. Which I had this conversation yesterday when I was talking to my wife about my notes. You know what would have allowed me to get past BB-8?
What?
if there would have been a single moment in the entire movie where somebody would have pointed out that BB-8 is like a children's droid. Like a droid for kids. Because as a droid specifically made for kids in the Star Wars universe, he makes sense on the basis of like design-wise. His function wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But like, oh, he's a soccer ball. You know, he rolls around with kids.
Sure.
But as like an astromech droid, he makes no sense.
I don't know what version of astromech he's supposed to be, but it's not good.
Well, he's part of the BB series.
I guess.
But here's the problem with the BB series. R2 has 3 legs that have magnetic clamps, and they can stick to a ship so that he can work on a ship.
And he rolls. I mean, he has wheels, too. It's
Right,
like
he has wheels as well. He also has jets to get him up over, you know, stairs and stuff. BB
have jets.
He has no jets. He has wires that he can shoot out, but he at no point uses them like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And he cannot magnetically stick to anything, meaning he is all the worst things that you could ask for in a astromech droid. Which leads me to believe he's not an astromech droid. He's a toy.
Well, that's what I thought.
He's a kid's toy.
I didn't think it was astromech either.
But he's treated like one because, as we go to my next note, or actually not my next note, it's a little bit farther down. We'll get there. There's a point where BB-8 gets pulled up into the astromech spot, and he's clearly way too small for it, and it looks like if the X-Wing turned at all, he would just fall out.
Yeah. He's really not designed to be in an X-Wing.
Yeah. Like, or just any ship in reality. There's not a single ship in this movie that looks like he should be in it. Okay, so then we'll go on to the next one, which is, there's Earth animals on Jakku.
I'm sorry?
There are ducks and llamas.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Here's the thing, ducks and llamas don't exist in Star Wars.
I know. I didn't really mind this, though. This was such a minor thing for me. I didn't really...
So I do mind this for 2 reasons. One, because there are canonical other animals that you could have used, like banthas, which are, you know, essentially cows, which you also could shear for, you know, clothes and that kind of stuff. There could have been so many different animals that there could have been womp rats instead of ducks. But seeing ducks and llamas legitimately immediately takes me out of a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't make any fucking sense. Why am I looking at just a village in fucking, you know, North Dakota?
Or the Middle East, yeah.
Like, it's just llamas and fucking ducks. There's nothing Star Warsy about them. It's just llamas and ducks. And so, yeah, I have a problem with that. I don't like llama duck on Jakku. It really pulls you out of the film very quickly when you see human animals or Earth animals on an alien planet.
Well, okay, so they fucked up there.
Yeah. Which I'm gonna guess that they originally shot the scene and then somebody was supposed to go back in and edit them into Star Wars animals.
To make them look correct.
Yeah, like they were just using them as like, you know, proxies.
Yeah.
And like somebody was supposed to go back in and change the ducks to like womp rats or the, you know, the llamas to bite, you know, to fucking banthas or whatever. But that didn't happen. So now there's just ducks and llamas. And I immediately have a million more questions.
Now, if ducks and llamas are in Star Wars, that does mean we are in Star Wars. Universe.
Again, yeah, it also means that ducks are from a different galaxy.
That's pretty badass.
As are llamas.
I think that's pretty badass. I mean...
It brings up a lot more questions about the Star Wars universe.
Well, we've always known it's been in our universe, just in a different galaxy.
But even then, how did because one of the big things about Star Wars is that they can never leave their own galaxy.
Sure.
They haven't even finished exploring their own galaxy.
Yeah, they're just at a
So the
stage.
idea that they made it all the way to our galaxy, or ducks somehow made it, and llamas made it from our galaxy to theirs.
International, super...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it really draws me right out of it. Anyways.
I love it, whatever.
So next part is, oh, by the way, so in the opening text crawl, we get the opening says, General Leia has sent her best agent to go see an old friend who has something that will help lead to Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker.
Bail Organa up front. That's what I thought you were talking about.
Is that who he's supposed to be? Because they never say his name.
Who? Wait. Who?
Old man? Old man.
Oh, that's
they
not
never say
Organa.
his
Don't
name.
worry, that's not. He's random guy who dies instantly. He's not important.
Not instantly. He's on film for 5 minutes with no one saying his name.
Yeah.
Trust me, I have this guy is on a ton of my notes. Which, by the way, to this point, we still don't know Poe's name.
We never find out until
we do.
The second movie.
We don't find out Poe's name until Finn breaks Poe out of jail and they escape from the Star Destroyer. That's when we first find out who the fuck Poe is. That is over 20 minutes into the movie.
Well, we knew he was a Republic.
But we didn't know his name. We knew Luke's name in the first 5 seconds of the fucking movie.
Yeah,
we know Darth Vader's name the second he's on screen. People get introduced in movies.
Yes.
It's weird for a movie to have a main character be shown in multiple scenes. Do you know who the first character to have their name spoken is?
Kylo.
It is Kylo.
Yeah.
And he's the only one for 20 minutes that we know the name of.
What about Phasma?
Nope.
Huh.
They don't say Phasma's name until the 40-minute mark.
Shit. You have a lot of notes. I didn't even know that.
Oh, I was literally going through this fucking movie because I was like, I'm gonna treat it like I'm critiquing a movie. I'm reviewing it.
Yeah. Fuck. 20 minutes. I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah.
I'm just so used to knowing their name now that.
So, we're on note 8. No explanation of who the old man is other than a friend of Leia's.
He never gets explained. It's,
the old man lives in a house with primitive tech, such as candles, oil lamps. He sleeps on a skin bed. Yet when Poe is running out of the village, when the village is attacked, we see mag lights and electricity, and everyone else's house is somewhat modern.
Yeah.
Why does this dude not have fucking light?
To be discreet. I don't know.
But you stick out like a sore thumb when you're the only dude in town that doesn't have a fucking light. He doesn't even have a door.
Yeah. I think they're trying to give a Tatooine vibe without saying they're on Tatooine. I think that's the whole point.
But Tatooine had doors!
Kinda. Some of the buildings. Not all of them.
No, literally, Luke's house has a door.
No, I know it does, but not all of the buildings in Tatooine have doors. I'm just saying. Have doors.
Unless they're like a public area, they have doors.
Maybe his was like a public house. I don't know. I'm trying to be nice to the movie here, okay?
I give it enough credit throughout this movie.
Okay.
Because again, the one third of this movie that isn't good is these type of things.
Yeah.
Things that don't make sense in the context of the movie or in the lack of context that is given. So the next part is that when the First Order lands, starts attacking the village, and they start shooting indiscriminately. Poe runs to his X-Wing, which is parked out in the open, and the First Order completely ignores it.
Yep.
Now I need to fucking specify this. He is not parked slightly out of the way. He's not parked, fucking like behind a hill.
I thought he was supposed to be behind a hill, though, to be honest.
It is literally, calling this a hill would be the equivalent of calling my child a giant. It is maybe a 3-foot sand dune. Okay? And even more so, they flew in on ships.
Yeah, they would have seen it anyway, regardless.
His ship is not, like, covered with something. He didn't, like, pull off a tarp or camouflage. There's a big fuck-off X-Wing, bright blue, parked next to this village where there are no other speeders.
Yeah.
This is the first thing they should have seen when they were landing. And they don't. Not only do they not see it, he is able to run all the way over to it and get in. BB-8 gets pulled up, which this is the note about he looks like he should fall out. Because he is really way too small for it. The fucking BB-8 gets pulled in, he starts turning it on, and not until it starts turning on, and the First Order has already taken half of the village,
not a big village.
We literally see... No. Here's the thing. We see them running past his X-Wing by this point.
Oh, I forgot about that, yeah.
2 troopers happen to realize his fucking X-Wing is there and run over to his X-Wing. Now, this is something that fucking threw me the fuck off. You ready for this? Because I bet everyone else forgot about this. Okay? 2 stormtroopers notice Poe's X-Wing, run over the small little hill, pull their guns, and fire at his X-Wing. They manage to hit his X-Wing, and his little display freaks out, has a little bloop, like, oh fuck, critical system has been hit. So he hits a button, and a small turret deploys and turns 180 degrees behind his ship and perfectly murders both troopers.
Yeah, it's...
When the camera pans out, this turret is seen to have been firing from the left, or the back right of his ship, to the left of his ship.
Wait, they moved the gun
where the troopers were.
The gun in place?
Here's the thing. What the fuck is this gun? It never comes back in the whole movie.
It never comes back ever, actually.
There is never a scene of us seeing this again on any of the X-Wings. We've never seen it previously, and we don't see it after.
Actually, that gun would have been... Oh, wait, no! They use that gun. They do, actually. You're forgetting. They do.
When?
Oh, wait, no. Shit, they were in a TIE fighter. Fuck. I don't know.
Yeah, no. The TIE fighter has a backwards sitting gun that fires backwards. The X-Wings never again shoot backwards. Even to the point when they're at the final battle attacking, they are getting chased. One of them, it has a fucking TIE fighter on its tail directly behind them, and they do not deploy this turret.
Oh, yeah. They're like... Yeah, it's weird. It's like almost like in that one scene, they thought, let's make it a snow speeder. And then they stopped.
Yeah, but the turret deploys from one of the wings.
Wait,
why?
Wait, the wing?
Yeah, it deploys from the wing. It deploys from the rightmost wing. Like, a section of the wing, the thin-ass wing that there's no way this gun fit inside of, by the way, drops down a turret that turns 180 degrees behind and fucking pegs 2 troopers.
Huh.
And it's never brought up again. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, honestly, what to say to that. That's pretty... That's just bad.
Yeah, it's just bad writing.
Yeah, that's just bad writing. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, that's just...
Like, anything else would have made sense. Poe hopping up out of his, because the top of the X-Wing wasn't even closed yet, so he could have just stood up and shot back. Yeah. Would have been fine. But no. Fucking turret deploys that we never see again.
It's like, we're in the wrong movie. Whoops.
Yeah, again, I took notes on all these things because as I was watching, I was like, these are things that people forget. These are things that no one thinks about. Because I forgot that he had a turret that deploys on his fucking X-Wing. Yeah, and we never see again.
What were they thinking? Fuck.
I don't know. I have no idea. So next is Poe abandons the X-Wing on foot because of the lucky shot that hit the X-Wing. So he hops out of the X-Wing, he leaves BB-8 in the X-Wing, hops out, runs to the back. The shot that hit the X-Wing and took a critical system landed dead center of where the 4 wings connect. The main bulk of the ship.
Yeah, that circle thing in the middle that holds them together.
The most durable part of the ship.
Yeah.
A hand blaster hit that and apparently disabled an X-Wing.
It was just one shot? You sure they didn't spray it?
No, it was one shot. It is one shot from a dude carrying what looks to be a modified E11.
Yeah, their E11s are weird.
They are. I don't like the design of their E11s either. I don't like the white and black. It looks too much like a Nerf gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, he single shot that fucking X-Wing, which by the way, for anyone who's like, okay, maybe their guns are just higher power. There's a problem later where when Poe and Finn are leaving in the TIE fighter, that TIE fighter gets shot repeatedly with the exact same blasters and higher caliber guns, higher yield guns, and it doesn't do anything.
I was going to see if you discovered it, the invincible TIE fighter. even though all the TIE fighters to this point are the squishier as fuck.
Oh yeah, that TIE fighter gets fucking shot to shit and doesn't have a scratch on it.
Like, holy plot
it's
armor.
amazing. Yeah, it is literally the script cheating for someone.
Yeah. I remember when I saw that, I was thinking, why didn't the TIE fighter blow up? Like, wouldn't the TIE fighter be the worst vehicle to choose?
Oh, 100%. The second that thing should have gotten shot, it should have crashed right back to the ground.
Yeah.
TIE fighters are notoriously weak.
Now, to be fair, when I first saw this, because this is the first TIE fighter I saw getting shot, I thought, oh, maybe they have better TIE fighters.
But then we see later in the movie, no.
But no, they're shit. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the next one, which is some of the troopers are killing people on sight, and others seem to be chasing villagers around, despite being within arm's reach of them, and then there are flamethrowers burning buildings. So I don't know what the fuck the goal is at this point.
I thought Kylo says to destroy the city and capture
Kylo hasn't been on screen yet.
Holy fuck, we're really behind in the notes. Okay, we better speed this up. This is gonna take forever. We're half an hour in and we haven't even gotten to the part where Kylo comes out of the ship.
Welcome to me watching this film.
Fuck, okay, yeah.
This is why I can only watch one.
Yeah, we couldn't get through all 3 movies.
But yeah, so Kylo hasn't even shown up yet. This is still the initial drop, and some of the people are just being shot. Some of the people who aren't armed are just being killed indiscriminately.
I thought they were trying to make
while others are being chased down, but being within, like, arm's reach, and they're still, like, chasing them, like, I'm gonna get you. And then there's a fucking flamethrower dude who walks out of nowhere and just starts burning houses. Like, it looks like the most disorganized group of assholes.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a military raid. It looks like a band of fucking, like, Mad Max villains. Like, so it's so weird. So next is Poe gives the map. I wrote it as special item because we didn't even know it's a map yet. Gives special item to BB-8, which, by the way, he hands this map to BB-8 despite the fact that both Poe is armed and the only 2 troopers that had spotted him or his X-Wing are dead.
Yeah, I know
he
where you're going.
easily could have left with BB-8.
Yeah, I thought that was weird too, that he tried to do anything at all.
Again, Kylo's not even here yet.
Yeah,
So the argument of him, like, staying to attempt to kill Kylo doesn't even come in yet because Kylo's not here. Poe has no reason to stay in this fucking location. No one has seen him. No one knows he's there. He could have ran off with BB-8. They both could have found fucking Rey and been done with this.
Will there be no Finn, though?
Oh, there still would be, but we just get a very different, time when it happens. Because later we find out that Finn did actually report to Phasma for discipline, but she didn't, like, kill him. She just disciplined him.
Yeah, not very...
So it's not like he wouldn't have had another chance to leave.
Yeah.
So let's go to the next one, which is Poe tells BB-8 that he will come back, implying that he wants BB-8 to hide, and yet he immediately before this told BB-8 to get the information as far away from their current location.
That's very confusing.
I shit you not, he literally goes, take this and get it as far away from here as you can. Loads his gun, stands up and goes, I'll be back for you.
No!
And runs off.
No, what the fuck?
And I'm like,
what the fuck?
A lot of my notes are in these first 10 minutes.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Because there's a lot of shit that happens that is just, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, that opening scene was a bit confused.
So, so next, Poe, still completely undetected by the rest of the First Order, runs over to the small hill and begins opening fire, drawing attention to himself. Here's the thing. He shoots the first guy, 3 more guys notice him, he kills all 3 of those guys, and no one else notices him.
Yeah.
Meaning, again, he has a second opportunity to leave.
Yep, totally agree, yep. Not even gonna argue that, yep.
So now we're on to the next point, which is Finn, still in trooper mode, is introduced when one of the troopers that Poe shot puts his bloody hand on Finn's helmet, despite the fact that the blaster that Poe is using is high yield and would have seared the wound closed instantly.
Well, to be fair, we did see blood in A New Hope.
We did, but that's actually a canon thing, is that lightsabers can be depowered to not cauterize.
So Obi-Wan was just kind of being fucked up there.
Yeah, he was literally being an asshole.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Like, he was cutting his arm off and letting it bleed for a reason.
Jesus.
To, like, fucking threaten the rest of the cantina.
Huh. Didn't even think about that, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's... There's answers for a lot of the shit in the original, and here, we just don't get them. Which anyways, by the way, so now we're gonna go, so Finn stops firing, despite the fact that no one has seen him, and he's literally just able to pick off troopers. He stops firing to watch, or no, sorry, Finn looks around, realizing, for the first time the horror of war, and Poe stops firing to watch Kylo's ship land. So Finn literally, like, after the blood gets smeared on his face, stands up and is, like, looking around like, oh my god, this is war. And, yeah. And so, well, it's his first time in a real combat, not with his brothers and sisters. Because he states later in the movie that he has been combat trained, where they would do drills with the other stormtroopers. But it was his first mission. So his first taste of real combat. And yeah, he's not okay. But yeah, Poe stopped shooting to watch Kylo's ship land, which, mind you, here's something that I have a problem with. He watches Kylo's ship land. At this point in the movie, we've just established that fucking hand rifles, regular blast rifles, have enough power to critically destroy or shut down ships, right?
Yeah.
Why does he not shoot at Kylo's ship?
Because he's still in charge. Wait.
Yep. Why does Poe not shoot at Kylo's ship?
I don't know. Dude, if you have a problem with that, you're going to be really pissed in the next movie then.
Probably.
No, like...
But he literally sits there and watches Kylo's ship land. Despite we just got shown that he could have destroyed Kylo's ship with his blaster.
Maybe Kylo's ship is rougher. I don't know.
Maybe, but we don't know either. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That is the continuing running issue I have with this film. That is the 1/3 that is bad. Is nothing is explained.
Yeah.
You trust me. I don't need you to make the answer because the movie doesn't give you the answer. That's why I'm bringing up the question. So next up is the village people are rounded up in the town center, those that are still alive, and the old man happened to survive, despite the fact that he was just wandering around.
Yeah, we lose track of him, I think, and he disappears.
Yeah, and so then Kylo comes out and he starts talking, and his modulator is so bad, he sounds like Bane from the Nolan films.
Yeah, I didn't know what he was saying the first time I heard him.
Holy shit, I literally was watching him going, dear God, I can't understand. I could almost not understand a single word he's saying.
Yep.
Kylo greets the old man as if he knows him, yet still no one says the old man's name.
Yeah.
The old man speaks of Kylo's family, the dark side, and even more, and I'm even more mad that I don't know who the fuck he's supposed to be.
You never know. They never tell you ever.
And Kylo kills the old man,
Yep.
still without us knowing his name and without getting the location of Luke.
It's as if they introduced Gandalf but never told us who Gandalf was.
Yeah, like all the way. Yeah, like Gandalf gets all the way to the point where he gets murdered by the Balrog, and they just never said his name in the whole fucking
That'd be
thing.
so fucking funny if, like,
Actually,
Frodo
you know what?
gets
No,
mad
because
and
that
then
would
the fuck
still
is
make
that?
more sense. Because at least Gandalf was in The Hobbit.
Yeah, no, I know, but I don't know. I just realized it'd be so funny if, like, when he goes down, if Aragorn's like, what the fuck was his name?
No, old man.
And only Frodo and Sam know who that is.
Oh, so anyway, so So yeah, he kills the old dude, who we have no idea who the fuck the old dude was supposed to be or whatever. Yeah. Despite the fact that, yeah, I'm not kidding. He talks to Kylo like, I know who you are. I know what you really are. I know you're a good person. It's in your blood. I know your parents. They're good people. Don't let the dark side seduce you.
Yeah.
You belong on the light. Like, he talks to Kylo like he's his fucking uncle.
Yeah.
Like, he gives a better speech to Kylo, like a speech I would expect Luke to give to Kylo.
Right.
Like, and then he just dies, and I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
And you love how not even, like, when he dies, because Poe watched him die, that...
Yeah,
Poe
there's no, like, shouting out his name,
right.
or, like...
Well, but Poe doesn't even mention it when he gets back.
No, he's just dead.
He's disappeared from existence.
Which, another point I have on this is, so he's died, right?
Yeah.
The old man's dead.
Yes.
Kylo didn't get the information from the old man.
Yeah.
The old man doesn't tell him that he gave the map to someone else. He doesn't tell him that anyone else has it.
Yep.
Meaning, if Poe would have stayed hidden again,
yeah.
Kylo would have had no leads, because he just massacred the only dude that knew.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where Poe's really stupid in this movie. I don't know why. He gets smarter later, if that helps, but this first movie, he's just a fucking idiot, honestly.
I think he's got a hero complex.
Oh, he does.
He wants so bad to be the hero in this movie, and that he keeps doing dumb things.
Yeah.
So next we're gonna do is
he's the main character when he's not.
Which is weird, because he's written like a main character.
Yeah, there's like 5 main characters that aren't main characters.
It's really weird. So, okay, so next up is Poe then attempts to shoot Kylo, who stops it with the Force, despite the fact that, again, no one knew where Poe was, and all the ships were unguarded. I'm not kidding. At this point, no one is standing guard at these ships. I rewatched the scene to make sure this was right. They don't have anyone standing next to the ships. Poe could have, because he runs from behind Kylo, he could have ran and gotten into Kylo's ship and left.
Oh, yes.
He had full availability.
He had like 6 different times he could have left. It's so fucking
like,
sad.
But like, even if like his, the big argument is like, well, he didn't have a ship, he didn't want to cross he could have stolen the ship.
Yeah. Some people say that Kylo would, once he got out of his ship, would just force pull the ship back to the ground, though. This is some people said.
But we don't know that. We don't even know if Kylo's capable of that. He holds a blaster bolt in place, and that's the biggest Force thing we see him do in the whole movie.
True.
So, claiming that he could hold a ship in place tells us literally, like, it's a complete left, like, whole-ass claim out of nothing. It's just a BS claim, because there's nothing to support that. So next, let's go to Poe oversells getting kicked in the leg.
Yeah, but that's his plan, I think, right?
The wrestler in me had to make this a note. Because, yeah, he gets fucking Force stasis, and then, like, Kylo tells them to bring him to him. And they walk over and they grab him and they walk him in front of Kylo, and then they, like, kick him in the leg. And instead of being like, and kind of, like, dropping to a leg, this man goes,
Yeah.
Like, wrenches his body like he's been in a, like, 60-minute Iron Man match with someone who kept putting him in submissions. Like he oversells... Yeah, like, he oversells this fucking leg like it is the worst pain he's ever had in his life. And it just made me laugh.
Maybe it was the worst pain he ever felt. Maybe he's so cocky and arrogant that it really...
I like to imagine that the guy who plays Poe Dameron just actually had a knee injury. And the guy playing the Stormtrooper just, like, actually kicked him in the leg. So it was just a real, like, holy shit!
And they kept it in the movie because, like, oh, that's pretty fucking real.
Yeah, like, because that man fucking sells that leg kick like it is the worst thing.
I love the actor. He's so good. Anyway,
so next note is Poe is a smartass to Kylo and points out that Kylo's mask makes it hard to understand him. Points to this movie for being funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the witty Poe literally in the face of an enemy just shit-talking him. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a level of snarky I can get behind.
It was really fun. I like that part, yeah.
Next up is Kylo tells his men to search Poe, and with less than a pat-down, they say he doesn't have it, and Kylo orders them to put on board. Does not specify which ship. So there's a few things to unpack here. I shit you not, he goes, search him. And they literally go, pat, 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 like chest, thigh, shin, and go, he doesn't have it.
I know, right?
This man could have had it in his ass and you would be fucked. This man could have had this and you wouldn't have known.
Had it in his goddamn shoe and they wouldn't have known.
Yeah, this man could have, you didn't check. This does not count as checking.
I mean, what the fuck? You know what'd be funny is if, like, they pat him and kind of was like, you didn't check him.
Like, seriously, I would have actually given more points again if they would have patted him and been like, he doesn't have it, and Kylo would have been like, look, no, actually search him, asshole.
Like, don't just touch his belly, actually.
Because they just don't search him. Like, he could have it in his back pocket. No one smacked his ass. No one knows.
Yeah.
Fucking. Also, Kylo literally goes, put him on board. On board what? There are 4 ships here.
Oh, I don't know.
He doesn't specify.
I thought it was assumed it was his ship, though.
But that's the thing. In those movies, they always say, put him on my ship. Put him on a shuttle. Something. He just says, put him on board.
Oh, yeah, like when the Emperor's like, now bring him to me in my court. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like, it's so non-specific that it stuck out to me and made me laugh. Because it's such a, like, put him on board. Which fucking ship, dude? We got 4 of them. What? Which one? You want him to ride with us? You want him to ride with you? Do you want me to put him on the speeder? What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
So next note is Phasma walks into frame, looks ridiculous, and is not addressed by name, meaning we still don't know who she is.
Of course.
Then next up is Poe. This is where I realized Poe actually still hasn't been called by name either.
Yeah.
And Finn hasn't. So the only person whose name we know is fucking Kylo.
Yeah, I remember watching this thinking, so, like, at the beginning, I was like, so this rebel pilot, he's just an idiot who's gonna get killed, right? I didn't even realize
everyone's
he'd be a
kind
main
of
character.
introduced almost like they're gonna just die off because they're not given names.
Yeah, I didn't think they were even important, to be honest, except for the droid.
So then we go to the next one, which is Kylo orders the death of all the villagers without searching them. So again, what is the plan?
Well, he could have searched them after they're dead. You don't have to keep them alive.
But he doesn't! He has them kill them and they leave! Like, immediately!
Yeah, of course. Why would you need to search when those 2 guys patted Poe? You're good. You don't need...
But, like, he killed the old dude!
Yeah.
There's so much just, like, Kylo's just killing motherfuckers. I don't even think he, like, gave a shit about finding the plans. He just wanted to kill everyone in this fucking village, man. He was out for a completely different vendetta. It made me laugh, because he, like, consistently throughout this movie will do shit where it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So next up is Finn fails to shoot people when everyone's ordered to be executed, despite doing it less than 5 minutes ago, which is something I wanted to point out. When he first leaves the ship, he is shooting.
No, that was before he got the blood on his face from the guy.
Right, but he did kill people before that moment.
Right, and then after he saw the blood, he realized this shit was real, and he just didn't want to kill people anymore, I thought was the point.
But here's the problem with that. Normally, if someone has that moment, they're like, oh shit, this is real.
Or it's wrong.
That happens when they first kill someone. Not when they see someone on their side die. Like, he ran out that fucking... Or if they do see someone on their side die, they protest that they shouldn't be in the fight to begin with. Not then fail to shoot the people who shot their friend.
True.
Like, it's weirdly... it almost feels like a misunderstanding of, like, PTSD. Where, like, they almost play it because, like, later there's a point where he has trouble breathing and, like, he's clearly panicked and upset by it. But, like, it almost, like, misunderstands the like, trauma behind it. Because it's not that you won't shoot anymore.
Right.
Or that you will stop killing your enemies or people trying to kill you. It's that you don't, like, you are haunted by those choices or by what you were forced to do. But in that moment, for it literally to be 5 minutes, comes out the thing, shoots people, sees friend get shot, bloody hand on his face, looks around in horror, and then everyone's shooting, and he's just standing there like, I can't do this. It's just like, okay, this is a lot of, like, it feels like what should have been character development over the course of the movie, shoved into 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Like, he should have been, like, reluctant to shoot, but still shot once or twice.
Sure.
And then it's really, like, it's weighing on him. Yeah. Like, crying when he does it, or, like, it's affecting him.
Well, I actually learned some stuff about World War I soldiers. Apparently, a lot of them missed their shots because they couldn't look the men in the eyes when they were shooting at them. So they,
right, which again, also would have been fair.
Yeah.
If he just was missing horrifically, sure. Because he's still trying to follow orders.
Yeah.
But for him to just not shoot, it literally shows, like, which again, this becomes a problem because later in the movie, like, canonically, like in story time, less than a day later, he will massacre the people he grew up with.
Yeah, that
without like having a single issue.
He even has fun doing it.
He really does, and it makes no sense. It really is just a problem.
Maybe his brainwashing was so bad that, like, he doesn't even really see them as his family. He just thought they were his family when he was brainwashed.
See, but that still doesn't make sense because, like, when you're brainwashed, like, you're brought up that way, you wouldn't stop seeing them as your family. You would even more so be reluctant to shoot them because that's what the conditioning does. You know, your first and foremost, your loyalty is to your family.
Yeah, Black Widow did a good job with the brainwashing stuff.
Right, and so, like, having that, I don't know. Anyway, so next point is, Kylo, while returning to his ship and looks at Finn, stops and looks at Finn, seeming to imply that he feels Finn's conflict with killing the civvies.
Which he should be immediately executed for.
But here's the thing, I pointed this out for a reason. Kylo doesn't, like, turn and, like, you know, they're all still shooting, and he, like, stops and kind of looks and notices he isn't. No. They're all done shooting. Kylo is turned around, walking back to his ship, full focus, stops dead in his track, and shit whips his head to Finn.
Yeah.
And they make contact, like eye contact, through their helmets. And you can see Kylo have that moment, like, you can see by his body language, he can feel Finn's conflict.
Yeah.
He can feel the pain that Finn's going through. He says nothing and gets back on his ship. This happens multiple times throughout the film.
Yeah,
where Finn and Kylo... No, Finn and Kylo specifically make eye contact or sense each other's presence.
Oh, yeah. So there was this interesting thing that I found out, which I guess is technically well, it's not spoilers anymore. In Force Awakens, J.J. Abrams wanted Finn to be Force sensitive, and then it got scrapped.
It 100% is there.
Yeah.
Like, throughout that film, it is very heavily implied that Finn is going to be
a
Jedi.
Yeah, that's what was JJ's plan, and then it got objected.
Well, he definitely did it amazingly. Which, again, we're going to critique each movie on their own merits, and then like, when we get to the next movie, we'll critique it based on itself and the movie that came before it.
Okay.
So this one, we're critiquing solely on itself and the original and prequel movies.
Okay. It's hard. I don't know. You know, it's hard.
I know. But once you've already seen them, then you come back, and yeah. But that's why I'm doing it this way.
Yeah, I know.
Because I'm doing it as if it was the release in order.
Yeah. So anyway, so they sense each other.
So next, so they stare at each other. Then Kylo ignores him, and then the blaster shot that he was holding is finally allowed to move, and it hits the fucking like group where the people were. Which, by the way, he held that for like 3 minutes.
Yeah, he did that for a long ass time.
And I will say they kind of play it. It plays kind of funny because he really starts walking away after connecting with Finn, and it almost looks like he has this like, oh yeah, the blaster, and like releases it.
Yeah.
Like it very much so is like this like in the back of his head moment.
Kind of showing his power. I don't know. I kind of liked it.
So here's the thing. A lot of people claim that as like showing his power. That's just a Force ability called Force Stasis.
Well, how much focus does it take? I mean, surely it's not easy.
It's not one of the harder spells at all, like Force abilities at all. It's something that typically Jedi Padawans learn to subdue people.
Well, then maybe it's a hint at his Jedi Padawan-ness in the past.
But it's I don't know. It's not a bad scene. It's just funny. Because it really does. He just kind of like it almost looks like he's like, oh shit, right, the blaster bolt. And then it like goes. But then the next scene is upon finding Poe's X-Wing, rather than searching it or trying to find the location of Luke or even just location of Republic bases, the troopers immediately shoot it into scrap.
Of course. Well, but
again,
it's not mindless drones.
Goddamn, there's so much issue with this fucking opening scene and just the amount of different times they could have gained information and just blatantly disregard it. Like, it makes no sense to me. Next up is BB-8 looks to be roughly 20 feet away as he looks at the fireball of the X-Wing exploding. I'm not kidding. It looks like he just rolled over the next hill.
Yeah, and he assumes Poe's dead.
He's been gone for like fucking 5-10 minutes now? Mm-hmm. Why is he rolling so slow?
Because he's unsure if he should stay to wait or he should go.
Yeah, because Poe's giving bad direction.
Yeah, he doesn't know. He's like, do I leave? Do I not?
Oh, and then something else that I'm 98% sure everyone else forgot about. There's a random alien that watches BB-8 roll away.
Oh, okay.
No. See, you hear me say that and you're like, oh, there's just some guy. No, I mean, BB-8 looks back, sees the explosion, turns around, starts rolling away, and an alien comes up from the sand, looks at him, goes, woo, 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 and then fucking goes back in the sand. And is never brought up again. Huh. I don't know if it was supposed to be someone from the village. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck it is. It's so weird. Because it's never brought up again.
You kind of just have to accept that a lot of things are never brought up again in this movie, because they aren't.
I'm not going to accept it, because it's the 1/3 of this movie that doesn't make it an amazing movie. Yeah. I'm not kidding. After watching this movie, and you'll see as we get more into the good shit, 2/3 of this movie is amazing.
Well,
1/3 of it is this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where shit just isn't explained or done. Like, it just leaves you so confused. Or takes you directly out of the movie. So next up is a better look at the shuttles, which seem to be scrapped together and barely flying. The dropships that dropped the fucking troopers. From the outside, they look like they're pieces of scrap. Which, again, is counterproductive to what we're being told.
Yep.
They also fly into a Star Destroyer, which is pretty and shiny. And again, I'm getting mixed messages. Are they winning, or are they barely holding it together? What is happening?
Maybe it just shows that they don't feel a need to maintain their troop shuttles. Is all, because they've been battle torn. I don't know.
But that's the thing. They don't look like battle worn. Like, there's not like carbon scoring. It looks like they ripped pieces of sheet metal together and welded them into a dropship. Like, it just feels so out of place with everything around it. It'd be like if the US military rolled up with all of its modern day tech, and then a huge, like, to deploy troops, they brought out the old, like, you know, the big trucks with the, like, canopy over it from, like, World War II. Oh. Like, drove, like, 18 of those up.
Huh.
But then also drove up, like, a modern day tank.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be weird.
You'd be like, what the fuck are you, like, what is your technology? Right, are you advanced, or are you, like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So next is Finn takes off his helmet, tries to catch his breath. He gets scolded by Phasma, who, again, we still don't know her name yet. We do get Finn's identification number, but not his name. Which, they did that really well. His kind of, like, panicked breathing and him clearly uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was good.
We're now on note 42, and we cut to Rey.
Yeah.
This is the first time Rey is being introduced into the movie.
We've only actually gone through, like, about 10 minutes of movie, though. I mean...
Yeah.
We've just made it take an hour to get through 10 minutes of movie.
There's a lot that happens.
Okay, anyway, so Rey shows up.
So we cut to Rey, scavenging. No comment on the scene. I think it's good. It fits. Her outfit makes sense. It was good.
Did you like that it was a Star Destroyer she was looting?
We'll get to that. I have a note for that.
It's the same. It is the same Star Destroyer as the end of the Battlefront campaign. Ooh.
We see she's out of water, and we see her slide down the hill on like a little sheet, which kind of hints towards her being like when she takes off her mask. We see she's young, but when she slides down the hill, she slides down like a child would. Again, kind of hinting that she may be more childlike. Then we see her jury-rig a bag on the side of the speeder, which is a nice touch. Don't really like the speeder bike's design, but otherwise a good scene.
It's fine.
We see a crashed X-Wing and a Star Destroyer, which makes me wonder why there's no Imperial or Republic presence on this planet.
Actually, if you notice, it's a Rebellion X-Wing.
It doesn't matter. Why is there no fucking Republic or Imperial force here?
Yeah, well, you know, the end of the Battlefront campaign explains it all, which is hilarious.
Does it?
Does
it explain why no one is here?
Well, remember at the end of when I played my campaign, at the very end of it, they all leave. Just abruptly.
That's not it. See, so here's the thing.
They were battling in space over the planet, and then ships crashed to the planet.
Right, but after the Empire took over, they specifically went back to planets that had big battles and established Imperial locations so that they could deal with the scavengers, so they could regain materials. The Republic, again, in Extended Universe, did the same thing.
Oh, I didn't know that. Huh.
Yeah, because you want to reuse those materials. You want to try and salvage Star Destroyers and that kind of stuff. So, to then see it in this, again, going in with the idea that they would be somewhat accurate to the Extended Universe, it's very confusing to see no Imperial or Republic presence here. In fact, Jakku seems to just straight up not have a hierarchy at all, which is also confusing, because even, like, Tatooine has a hierarchy.
Yeah.
So, like, Jakku's just kind of an odd place. The next one we see is we see her entering the spaceport and cleaning scrap.
Yep.
Also a good scene. A lot of aliens, helps establish her day-to-day. I thought the scene was great. We also see her...
Simon Pegg cameo? The Simon Pegg cameo?
I didn't see it.
He's the alien who she talks to for the food. That's Simon Pegg.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, it's Simon Pegg.
That's funny.
It's such a weird cameo. It's wonderful.
Oh, we're not even at the pawn shop yet.
Oh, shit,
it's just where she's cleaning it right before the pawn shop.
Oh, okay.
Which, in that scene, she also looks at an elderly lady and kind of spaces out at her, kind of showing her longing for a parent. Next, we see she's given 1/4 portion of food for the lot of the stuff she brought in, showing that pawn stores are still a dick.
Of course.
We see she lives in a downed AT-AT walker, and she watches a ship leave from orbit, showing that she wants to leave.
And she puts on the Rebel helmet.
Which is my next note. She places a helmet of a Rebel on her head, showing she's still young and very childlike. She's very much so... Like, again, I didn't remember a lot of this from my first time seeing it. So going back into it with this kind of critical mind and coming into it with this kind of mindset... Holy shit, this is really well done.
Yeah.
Like, she is very much so... She's an adult child. She's never been raised. So she's just a kid that's older.
Yep. Yeah, it's great.
And that explains a lot of things throughout the rest of the movie.
Yep.
She hears BB-8 being captured by an alien. She seems to threaten him to let BB-8 go. Rey seems to know the alien. She informs us that his name is Tito, and he would have scrapped BB-8.
Yep, and that alien will never come back ever again, by the way.
Right, which is even more confusing that he has a name and Old Man didn't.
Yeah. I was wondering if you'd point that out, or I'd have to tell you.
Oh, absolutely. No, there's an infuriating amount of detail in some spots and none in others.
Yeah.
Credit to Rey, she helps BB-8 and gives him directions, and then goes to leave without any kind of reward.
Yep.
Showing that she is just a good person. BB-8 convinces Rey to take him along, seeing seeming to immediately forget his mission.
Yes.
And then we cut back to the Star Destroyer that Kylo is in to reveal that Poe is being tortured. Kylo remarks that he has that they've captured the best pilot in the Resistance, which is the first time we've heard of the Resistance. And now we're informed that Kylo knows who Poe is.
Okay.
Kylo uses the Force to force Poe to tell him BB-8 has the map. We cut to Rey and BB the next day at the spaceport and find that Rey still thinks her family is coming back to her again showing she's very childlike. She doesn't have an understanding of just how bad the world is or that she's been abandoned.
Yep.
Pawn shop owner offers Rey 60 portions of food for BB-8. You can see that moment of joy as she sees all the food, only to still turn it down to only take the half portion for the scrap she brought in. Again, showing she's a good person, but also showing that she's never been properly fed a day in her life. Hard cut back to the Star Destroyer to find Finn breaking Poe out of jail. By the way, there's a lot of cuts very quickly. Like throughout this movie, like, you know, Star Wars is famous for like the wipe cuts.
Yeah, the wipe is.
There's a lot of hard cuts in this movie, where it just cut and you're in a different scene. It's really jarring. There are some wipe cuts in this movie, but there is a lot of hard cuts. I don't know why, but it throws me off every fucking time.
Fast-paced, so it doesn't feel as slow as the original trilogy, you know.
Yeah, but that's kind of what gives the original trilogy the love for it, you know?
I know that, but like, I think that was...
But Abrams should know that. Like...
He should. I mean, he made other...
Yeah, I think, yeah. Then they try to escape in a tie, only to not notice that it's still being refueled and get caught on a fueling pipe, which I will say this scene, that part of the scene, does make me laugh, because they are almost out of that hangar before that pipe fucking yanks on them. Meaning that if Poe would have taken half a second longer to make sure it wasn't plugged in, they would have been out. They would have been out without them having any moment to stop them. Because they don't even, the First Order doesn't even realize that the ship has started to try and leave the hangar until it's starting to be, yanking consistently.
Right, when they realize it's not supposed to be moving.
Yeah, it took them way too long to realize the fucking TIE fighter still plugged in isn't supposed to be moving. They would have had a good, fucking 10-minute head start.
That shit would... You could never get away with that shit if the Falcon tried to leave without the shields down or something, you know?
Yeah, But yeah, and then we go on to Finn begins massacring the entire fucking hangar.
As you would when you...
Fuck, man. He gets more kills in that scene than I think Han has in the entire original trilogy.
Actually, to be honest, the biggest... you know who kills the most?
BB-8.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not in the first one, but probably in one of the sequels. Because in the first one, BB-8 only has 2 kills.
He pretty much kills an entire Star Destroyer. BB-8 is god.
Fantastic. But yeah, in first movie at least, Finn is racking up the kills, man. He's got a great kill count.
Yep.
So then Poe and Finn fly out of the ship and manage to destroy 2 turbolasers at the bottom of the ship, and they celebrate like they just blew up the Death Star. Very cute. I think they're adorable. I think both of their characters together, their kind of immediate friendship is very, very true to life. A lot of my friends that I've made in desperate situations.
Sure. And
we have been lifelong friends ever since.
Yeah,
and they very much so have that same type of relationship of just this is it, man. We fucking here.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Watching Finn cheer at killing his brethren was disappointing.
It was. It definitely undercuts a lot of it, but I think it was definitely... I think that's one of the hard things is he's being written really well to fit with Poe, but it's kind of undercutting his own story.
Yeah.
Finn and Poe, Finn and Poe into themselves.
I like to describe Finn's character development as if you're playing D&D and then you happen to have a backstory, but it's not really important.
Yeah, kinda. Like, Finn was just the extra fighter in the group.
Right. He's like, yeah, I know, like, or like you say, like, oh, you're like in your backstory, right? Oh, I had a troubled past, and like I was abandoned as a child, and I was enslaved, and then you show up to the group, you're like, hey guys, what's up? And you just not even like.
It just never comes back.
Right. It's like it doesn't matter.
So Finn and Poe introduce themselves to each other. Poe gives Finn his name, and they fly towards the planet.
Yep. And we find out.
This is the first time we find out Poe and Finn's name.
Right.
We're an hour and 10 minutes into this review, and we just found out their name.
Yeah.
The First Order tries to figure out who helps Poe escape, and Kylo immediately, as if he could feel Finn, notes that it's Finn who betrayed them.
Huh.
He immediately calls out that it was Finn, calling out his ID number before anyone else can check it.
Well, he was very stood out because he sensed him and the blood on his helmet.
He didn't say his name, though.
I know, but
they're in identical uniforms.
Huh.
Yeah, meaning he knew which one Finn was. And given that we see that Kylo is quite adept at reading people's minds, it's entirely possible that he just read Finn's fucking ID number from his mind in that moment when they lock eyes.
Yeah.
But again, really pushing at the idea that Finn is Force sensitive.
Yep.
The First Order then fires missiles at Poe and Finn. They manage to destroy most of them. However, Finn gets distracted arguing with Poe about going back for BB-8, which allows a missile to hit them and causes the TIE to crash.
And somehow not explode immediately.
Yeah, it weirdly hits the TIE fighter and it's completely fine. Like, its wings are crappled,
and it survives the crash landing and doesn't explode into a ball of fire.
This is the most durable TIE fighter ever.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is a more durable TIE fighter than Vader's by a lot.
I thought they were gonna steal a shuttle. You know, I didn't think they'd steal a TIE fighter, to be honest.
I think that would have made more sense. But I do like that Poe comments on how fast the TIE fighter is.
Yeah.
Like, when it breaks, it fucking goes, and he's like, "Holy shit, this thing moves."
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah,
that's the advantage of a TIE fighter over an X-Wing, is that they're easier to dodge. They just have no shields, so.
I think it was kind of that realization moment for Poe, too, of like, this is why we always struggle to hit these fuckers.
Yeah, because it's fun.
These motherfuckers are fast. So then Finn wakes up after seeing the after crashing. He seems to have been ejected from the TIE fighter, and is about a mile away. We can judge from the burning in the distance. Finn tries to save Poe from the crash, only to find his jacket before the ship is sucked underground and explodes. Finn then wanders to the desert, happening to find the spaceport that Rey and BB-8 are at.
Right.
Kylo makes it clear that the First Order Admiral makes it clear to the First Order Admiral that he wants BB-8 alive and unharmed.
Yep.
Two guys try to steal BB-8 from Rey, who proceeds to kick the shit out of both of them, just in time for Finn to see. And she really does. She whoops the fuck out of both of those guys.
Yeah.
BB-8 then says something to Rey, which makes her take off after Finn immediately and knock him to the ground. Finn badly lies and says he's with the Resistance, and Rey believes him, again showing how trusting she is. Rey states that she thought Luke Skywalker was a myth.
Which is concerning.
Yeah,
it hasn't even been that long.
Well, so here's the thing. In the original New Hope, Han makes a comment that he believes the Force is a myth. It's fake. It's phony. It's bullshit.
Right.
Because in canon, he was probably a teenager when Order 66 happened.
Right.
Han is from Corellia.
Yes.
So he was in a core world that didn't see much of the war, meaning he probably didn't see a Jedi.
Right.
And then the Empire had mass purged all information on the Jedi.
Right.
Meaning that Han, you have to think of Han has lived 20 years of his life by that time, plus the 10 that he was when he was a kid, or 12 when he was a kid. Mm-hmm. So he's like 32. With the majority of his life believing that the Jedi were just a cult that tried to kill the Emperor.
Right.
That the Force was fake. Because the Emperor didn't want people trying to learn the Force. So, like, most of the knowledge of the Jedi had been wiped. And then you think of Luke, helping the rebellion and the Republic getting established. Luke was then rebuilding the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And as we find out later in the movie, that all goes to shit. And then the First Order starts to rise. So we can only assume that the First Order did the same thing that Palpatine did.
Right. Yep.
And kind of erased most knowledge of Luke.
Yep, that's what we assume, but that's not what happened.
Well, we'll get to the second movie when we get there.
Yeah.
A random alien rats out Rey and BB-8, so Finn grabs Rey and starts running. Rey gets mad that Finn keeps grabbing her, leading her by the hand every time they run, despite the fact that she's clearly faster than him, and in reality he is slowing her down by grabbing. She also very clearly is uncomfortable with him holding her hand, again showing how young she is in her mindset, because she's very uncomfortable, like, makes a comment about it, like, stop grabbing my hand, and she says it kind of like a flustered child. But she doesn't, that's still a sign of intimacy for her. So it's very, she's uncomfortable with it. The troops lose sight of Rey and Finn, so they call in an airstrike on the fucking spaceport.
Sure.
Rey refers to the Millennium Falcon as garbage, and they try to pick, when they're trying to pick a ship to steal, the ship that they're trying to steal gets blown up, so they pick the garbage ship, which is the Millennium Falcon. Rey seems to know the layout of the ship, despite stating it hasn't flown in years and never saying she's been inside.
I thought it was
The second
implied
thing,
she'd been inside, though.
but she never says she's been inside. The only thing that implies it is the fact that she randomly knows a lot about it. But it's never stated that she helped the pawn shop dealer work on it or anything. It's just implied because she keeps seeming to know things about it. Like she knows immediately where Finn needs to go to get into the gunner's deck. Now here's where a big chunk of my frustration comes in with this movie. Because as you've noticed, this last bit between Finn and Rey has been pretty positive. Pretty much every scene with Rey has been positive.
Yeah, Rey's actually pretty good in the first
She
movie.
really well. Here's where I stop liking Rey for a few minutes. So Rey struggles to get the ship off the ground, starts crashing into everything. Great. Makes sense. It's an old ship. It's hard to fly.
Yeah, it's
she
like
shouldn't
50
be...
years old now of the ship, I think, or something like that.
Oh, way older than that. It was a 100-year-old ship during the Clone Wars. Yeah, that ship is ancient. The YT series is, like,
They don't even make
old.
it. Like,
yeah, they haven't made it for 100 years or more. Like, it's an old ship.
makes you wonder where they all went, if they're so reliable to
Most of them were scrapped. They're not reliable.
Oh, they're not.
The point of the Millennium Falcon is the fact that Han has kept that fucker running despite it not being worth it.
It's not really that fast, is it, compared to other ships now? Like,
It's a decently fast ship, but it's not because of its model. It's because of what Han and Chewie have done to it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they've made
It's like
that ship.
It's like my computer still keeps up, even though it's old as fuck.
It'd be like if someone used the shell of your computer and then bought a new computer. That's how the Millennium Falcon is. The outside's still the same, but a lot of the parts have been replaced to the point where it's essentially a top-of-the-line ship. Except for in this movie, where it's already been out-aged by a while. But then she starts crashing into everything, and then suddenly she starts flying like she's been doing it her whole life. She immediately does a flip and grazes the ground without touching it. She manages to dodge blaster fire from two TIEs that are less than a mile behind her, while fucking straining, leaning over to try and hit the shields. She managed to skid along the ground and dodge in between wreckage. She then flies through a Star Destroyer in a section at least as difficult as the Death Star run from 6. And they manage to destroy the TIEs, and Rey states that she doesn't know how she did it, and that she's flown some ships but never left the planet.
Oof, yeah.
So yeah, that chunk of shit just happened so fast that it's like, okay, hold on, you can't go from you're struggling to get the ship off the ground to making, I'm not kidding, when she's flying through the Star Destroyer, it is almost a one-for-one shot recreation of Lando flying the Falcon through the Death Star.
Yep.
And it's like, that is a really hard run to do. That's why Lando is the one flying the Falcon, because Lando had it before Han.
Yeah, and Lando knows that ship so well, he doesn't even need
right.
to. Yeah.
Like, it's his ship. He knows it. So for Rey to then make it, like, this would be like a kid nowadays who has never, fucking driven an old car or read any books about old cars, getting into, like, the first ever fucking GT model and Tokyo drifting around corners with it. Like,
yeah.
that's a lot to accept all at once. But then that scene ends. Kylo is told that Finn helped BB-8 escape and that they're flying an old YT model, and Kylo flips out. Now, having up to this point, we don't know why he's flipping out. It just looks like he's throwing a fit. But obviously, if you've seen the movie, you know that he is Han Solo's kid, meaning that he's probably flipping out because he probably assumes it's his dad. Because he knows his dad's famous ship. Finn convinces BB-8 to lie and say he is also with the Resistance. When Rey says she wants to return to Jakku, Finn asks if she has a boyfriend. Which was a very cute scene. It showed these are two people who have never really had people show emotion to them, positive emotion, and so they're both receiving it differently. Rey is kind of suspicious of Finn, but wants to like him, where Finn is just very, like, all the cards on the table.
Hell yeah. That's my man Finn.
Finn and Rey get tractor beamed into a massive junk ship, and they hide in a vent. Han and Chewie come aboard. Rey seems to know Han by smuggler reputation over his rebellion, and Finn seems to know him as the general of the rebellion over the smuggler, and tells him about the map. Yep. Which I thought was a very neat thing of kind of very much so splitting their backgrounds and showing the difference between the two of them. Mm-hmm. Where, like, fucking Rey has been in such a, like, kind of dingy location that she knows Han Solo as the mythical smuggler. Where Finn has been in such a war family that he knows him as his greatest enemy, right. The general of the rebellion. Rey then accidentally releases 3 huge monsters on the ship when 2 fucking, groups of gangs show up, which there's a lot of Irish people in this movie, by the way.
Yeah, it's fine.
There's a lot of Irish people.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't mind. It's fine.
It's just weird, because we haven't canonically had an Irishman in the movies.
And now
there are some...
It's fine.
Right, like, it felt like kind of overcompensating. Like, are we in Space Ireland? Like, there's a lot of Irish people here.
At least we have a third Blacklist person finally.
Actually, the funny thing is, there are a lot of black people in, like, comics and in other stories. Mm-hmm. It's just in the films that they're not around a lot. Huh. Which is one of the weirdest things. Because, like, even during the Clone Wars, like, I mean, the entire clone army is Islander.
Right.
But there are plenty of black characters in the Clone Wars era. Like, Saul Guerrero is a black guy.
Right. Well, he's in Rogue One.
Like,
I mean...
Yeah, he shows back up in Rogue One, but during the Clone Wars series, we meet him and his entire family as they try and fight for Onderon.
Right.
Like, so, like, there's a lot of black characters in the Star Wars galaxy. They just never seem to make it to the movies. Yeah, and then Finn tells them... Finn gets caught by one of the monsters and is saved by Rey closing a blast door, which she does, but doesn't tell him that she's the one who saved him.
Right.
Like, she saves him by closing blast doors and it cuts off the tentacles, but she then runs up to Finn, and Finn's like, the door just closed, and she's like, that was lucky, and runs off. Again, showing that she's a very humble person, and doesn't feel she needs to point out that it was her who saved him. We see for the first time the giant planet-sized battle station.
Yes. Star Killer Base, right?
Yeah, and we find out, which, by the way, hasn't been named yet. That's the other thing that's drastically missing from this movie. There is no subtitle planet.
What do you mean?
So in all the Star Wars films, when they show up at a location, if someone doesn't directly say it, we typically get a, like, of the planet name. Of where we are. No one says where the fuck they are in this movie. They go to multiple planets, and Jakku is the only planet, and Jakku, and one in the Illyrium system. But the planet isn't named that they land on in the Illyrium system, and Jakku is the only named planet in the movie.
Yeah. No. Han Solo says the place where they go to Maz's cantina. I think they say. I don't know what it is, but.
Does he say the name of the planet? Because I didn't remember. I think he states the system again.
Oh, is it the system? I thought it was the planet.
Yeah, like they keep doing systems, which is not helpful because there can be multiple planets in a system. Anyways, so we find out that the Admiral, find out from the Admiral while he's speaking to Snoke that the Republic and the Resistance are allies. Again,
they're
to this point in the movie, we've had no specification on them.
Oh, so I actually learned that they use the Resistance and the Rebels interchangeably?
They don't.
Yeah, they do.
No, they don't.
That's why I don't like it, because they use them interchangeably.
They don't.
Oh.
They're two separate factions.
Wait, fuck, hold on. I thought that... Well, that doesn't help.
Yep.
Is Leia
So
part of
in
the
this...
Rebels or the Resistance, then?
Both.
Nah, you can't fucking do that shit. That's why I thought they were interchangeable, because they say in
Right.
the movie how she's part of both. That's why I thought they just, like, fucked up on their writing itself and said
No.
that she was both.
So we find out later in the movie that the Republic is quietly supporting the Rebels. Quietly supporting the Resistance.
Why does it have to be quiet? Wait, what did they resist?
We don't know, because it's not told us.
No,
it's not told to us.
I'm not saying this in the context of the whole movie. I'm saying in all three movies, what the fuck are they a resistance from if they're not resisting the First
in
Order?
the context of Disney canon,
okay,
the Resistance and the Republic are two separate entities because when the First Order showed up, the Republic didn't want to immediately get stuck into another large-scale war, so they made a deal with the First Order that they wouldn't go to war with each other, and then secretly funded the Resistance to go and try and take down the First Order.
oh,
Which is why later in the movie, the main guy, the Admiral, will say that the Republic has hidden behind the Resistance for too long. But this is a huge problem, because in the movie, this is never explained.
See, I wish I had that explained, because that would have made sense.
So then we get
wait
to...
a minute, if they knew that, then wouldn't the First Order attack the Republic anyway?
Right?
Wait, that doesn't
it's
make
not
sense still.
Oh yeah, especially considering so in the extended universe, this is something that happens with the Imperial Remnant in the Republic, where the Republic makes a peace treaty with the Imperial Remnant, and they decide not to go to war anymore. However, the reason that makes sense in the extended universe is because the Imperials that rule over their territory don't want people rebelling against them in their territory. They're people who are happy being part of the remnants of the Empire.
Yeah, just living as citizens and all that. Yeah.
And so it makes sense. But here, everyone who's in the First Order is a cult member.
Right.
So why sign the peace treaty to begin with?
To backstab them later? I don't know.
Right, but it just doesn't make sense, because you're not placating anyone by signing the treaty. You know?
Look, I don't disagree that it makes no sense. It's just... I don't know.
Also, Kylo is referred to as the Master of the Knights of Ren.
Oh, yeah.
No. Here's the thing. This has been something that I have heard a million times, that Kylo was the least of the knights.
Oh, yeah.
That he was the lowest ranking.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's a... Yeah.
But in this movie, Snoke specifically refers to him as the Master of the Knights of Ren.
Yeah. They're kind of a bad idea, actually.
No, the Knights of Ren could have been a good idea. They were just used really poorly.
And not at all, actually.
Yeah. Well, they do show up.
In the third movie.
Yep. They really should have been throughout.
Useless.
Yeah. Next up is the compressor scene, which Rey simply rips out the compressor. Something both her... So here's the thing, though. After rewatching it, her and Han both make a comment about the compressor right when he comes on board. Mm-hmm. She literally states that the fucking guy who had the ship had installed a compressor. And her and Han at the same time say that that's a really dumb decision because it will overheat the hyperdrive.
Wait, are you shitting me? But the sequel movie fucking, like, did away with the whole plot of Episode 5?
What do you mean?
The whole reason Episode 5 exists the way it does and why Han got captured and all that and had to even meet Lando is because their hyperdrive was malfunctioning because they had a bad compressor on the ship.
Yes.
That was the whole point of Episode 5. And then Rey comes in and she just fucking fixes it like no big deal. When Han...
It's not that they fixed, it's that the compressor that the guy added, who had his ship, overheats the hyperdrive. It's a bad compressor. So it's the same issue.
Okay.
But this time, the compressor is installed in the pilot's area. And during that scene, because Han's like, the fucking compressor's overheating the hyperdrive, she stands up and starts ripping through the wires and finds it and rips it out. She doesn't rip out the compressor, she rips out the module that tells the compressor to be on or off.
Yeah, because she said she bypassed the compressor.
Yeah. So she just ripped out the part of the program.
I don't know.
And Han's like, huh. Alright. So here's the thing. When I first watched that scene, because I wasn't super paying attention to the movie because I had 4 other people in the room. And again, I was in a bad mood. That scene didn't make a lot of sense to me. Rewatching it, it makes sense. We're seeing that she does understand ships in general because she scavenges from them all the time. She's essentially a mechanic.
Okay.
So, her and Han, it's not that she knows more than Han, it's that both of them recognize that this is a problem, and will be later.
Right.
And when it becomes a problem, Han is too busy piloting to deal with it. And Chewie's been shot in the arm. Rey's simply the only one that's able to get to it. This isn't Han being surprised by her choice, because after this, he offers her a job because he's impressed that she figured it out.
Right.
So where most people see the scene as Rey being over the top, it's actually just her trying to show off for a guy she admires. Like, she looks at Han like he's her hero.
Right.
Like, he's her idol. She wants to be like Han Solo, the smuggler.
Okay.
Which, again, her knowing him as the smuggler implies that she knows the YT. Because when he says, this is the Millennium Falcon, she's like, wait, this is the Millennium Falcon? Meaning she knows the ship by reputation.
Yeah, the one that did the Kessel Run 12 Parsec, yeah.
Right, which means she probably has been researching it. Which, again, this scene, then going back on my previous point of her knowing the layout, this is the explanation. We just don't get it till way later in the movie.
Oh.
Yeah, we just don't get a lot of this movie has explanations that either never come or come really late.
Yeah, it's hard to follow.
It does, but rewatching makes it a lot easier.
I should rewatch it again myself.
I would actually suggest this movie.
Well, it's a good movie. I actually do. Well, here's the thing. I actually do like The Force Awakens, despite how much I'm trying to shit on it. It actually is my favorite of the 3 sequels.
I will say, after rewatching it, I would actually suggest it to, like, this is an okay movie to start in the Star Wars franchise.
You think it's better than A New Hope?
No. I don't think it's the best place to start. I think if anyone's starting the Star Wars franchise, they should start at Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
And go chronologically.
Either that, or you watch Episode 4, then you watch the prequels, then you watch episode 5 and 6.
Oh, the chopping order. There's like so many different orders. You know.
Well, the reason you do that one is because you are introduced to Vader, and then you learn Vader's backstory, and then you come back to see the salvation of Vader.
I see.
So it's like essentially the prequels are a flashback in between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back.
Sounds nice. I like that. Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Way to do it. Yeah. There's also the worst order I heard was to do 4, 1, 5, 2, then 3, then 6.
Oh, I've seen that one. Yeah.
I think it's silly as hell.
That one is the idea that you see both Luke start and Anakin start together.
Right.
And then you see Vader and Luke having their first showdown. Mm-hmm. Then you get Anakin's backstory.
Right.
Again, because here's why at that point. Because in episode 5, you still don't know, you don't find out till the end of it that Vader is Anakin.
Right. Oh, so that's why you wait.
So then you go back and watch episode 2 and episode 3, and now you understand 3 that's how Anakin became Vader. And then you watch 6, and you understand how he fell. Or now you see his redemption. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still a fan of watching things in release order, but whatever.
Yeah. Anyways, fine. Rey tells Han Finn is with the Resistance, and Han immediately knows he's lying, but says nothing. Rey and Han both talk about the Force and it being a myth to most of the galaxy, which Han then confirms that it is real. Rey sees a new planet and is surprised at how green it is, and showing her just how limited her knowledge is. Showing she really has never been off planet, and she doesn't really get to talk to spacers.
Right.
Han calls out Finn for being a fake, but he does it in private. Mm-hmm. Han offers Rey a job on his ship. She is sad and turns it down, again still hoping her family will come for her. Maz is introduced.
Get her name right away.
Maz is introduced well as kind of a gangster den mother.
Yep.
Also, she flies a Mandalorian flag outside, which implies she cooperates with the Mandalorians.
Which is awesome. Yep.
The Resistance and the First Order are both tipped off by spies at Maz's place. Kylo speaks to the helmet of Vader, asking for help not to fall to the light, but stay in the dark, showing he is a good man at heart. Mm-hmm. Kylo is struggling to stay evil.
Yep.
Again, later in the series when we find out that Luke tried to kill his nephew because of a bad dream, this moment, for me, this is the ultimate Luke fucking is an asshole.
What do you mean?
Because this shows that Luke was wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Entirely. Because even after everything, even after killing the Jedi to defend himself and escaping and trying to fall to the dark side, he's struggling not to be a good guy.
It's like opposite Anakin. It's great.
Do you know what that means?
I think I already do, but yeah.
That means Kylo's the best Skywalker.
Probably, yeah.
Because Luke struggled not to fall to the dark, and Anakin struggled not to fall to the dark.
Well, remember,
Kylo struggles. Hey, he's still a Skywalker. He's just
Leia's kid. I don't know. It's fine.
Yeah, he's still of the Skywalker family line.
I hate that we never got fucking Luke's son.
Yeah, I hate that Mara Jade just doesn't exist.
Oh god, so disappointing.
But no, Ben is the best Skywalker.
Sure.
Because he's the best Jedi. He was inherently light side. Meaning my theory about him having a nightmare is probably right.
Probably. Well, you'll see when you...
In all reality, he probably felt Luke's dark side of his intent to kill him. Because again, showing that he is literally begging his dead grandfather for help to not fall to the light sets Kylo up beautifully as a character who doesn't need to be saved. He doesn't need anyone to convince him to come back to the light. He's struggling just not to be there.
True.
He's such a good person that it's hard for him to make these bad choices, which also explains when he throws fits. When he starts smashing shit and freaking out. Because he's forcing the fit. It's not a natural fit. It's not a child throwing a fit because they're angry. It's an adult trying to force themselves to be angry. It's a teenager who's not naturally upset, forcing themselves to be upset.
Trying to put on a show for everyone else sees.
Right! Kylo, that's why it looks so half-hearted. That's why it looks so silly, because he's not really that angry. He's a good person. So this one line in this movie, I think, really helps set up Kylo amazingly. I know it won't be paid off in the later movies, but I think it does an amazing job.
I love your theory, and it's actually very beautiful. It's just that none of what you're saying will ever... It's not going to make sense.
Well, and that's the thing, is that's why we're watching through it each one.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, my theory could still be right. Because the other movies aren't even directed by the same people.
Actually, JJ did the third one, too. That's why it's sad.
Yeah, but by the time he came back for the third one, the second one had already destroyed his entire plans.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is you can see he tries to go back to his original plans. And that's also why it's kind of bad.
Yeah.
He mixes both. It's disgusting.
So next up is Finn admits he lied and prepares to leave. Finn points out the... What? Oh, the opening of the movie was his first mission. Finn asks Rey to come with him, and she asks him not to go. Yep. Again, showing that they kind of have a budding relationship. Yeah. It hasn't quite decided whether or not they're friends or romantic, but they clearly care about each other.
Yep.
Rey hears kids crying from deeper in the base. Rey also hears Vader's breathing. Rey, which leads her to Anakin's lightsaber and a force vision of so much shit.
Yeah.
First off,
First vision was a lot.
The fucking vision she has when it opens, that hallway that all the lights turn on.
I fucking love that.
That's where Vader and Luke fought.
I know. I love it.
And so that means she's getting the last impression of its holder.
Yeah.
Then she sees Luke watching the temple burn. She watches the Knights of Ren killing people. Then a vision of herself as a kid when her parents are leaving. Mm-hmm. And then of Kylo later in the film.
Yeah.
But I have to point something out about this. Her vision of Kylo later in the film is altered from what she actually sees.
What do you mean?
When she has the vision, so mind you, one, I want to talk about how this fucking vision is amazing.
Oh, I loved it. And the fucking Yoda quotes and Vader's quotes and shit.
Well, and the idea that this is someone who does have the Force, she's strong with the Force, but she's never been exposed to anything, and she just touched one of the most fucking Force-imbued objects in the galaxy.
Right.
So it just overwhelms the fuck out of her.
But can we talk about how... So, she found... To be clear, because I'm forgetting, where did she find this helmet? This was in Maz's Cantina place.
Not helmet. This is Anakin's lightsaber.
Oh, right, Anakin. Yes, the one that we lost in Cloud City.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Which we don't get an answer for.
Yeah, that pissed me off too when I saw it.
I have seen a few theories that it's... Because you know how Luke falls down the fucking shaft?
Yeah, but his lightsaber, we see it fall out of the, into the clouds. Out of the shaft.
So here's the thing. It could have easily been picked up by Ugnaughts. Because Ugnaughts work on all the maintenance for Cloud City.
Okay, but it fell below the city, though. Like...
We don't see it fall below the city. We see it fall down into the chasm where he falls later after.
But we find out that the chasm opens up into the empty cloud area.
It does because he falls into a trash chute. Not all those pipes go to trash chutes. Some of those pipes go to Ugnaught repair facilities. That's one of the extended universe things.
Well,
where we know
in context
because
of the movies, it makes no fucking sense.
I mean, they found Luke.
Well, because what upsets me is in the movie, Han asks, where she got it, and Maz says, "I'll tell you later," and then we never fucking find out.
Well, again, that's the problem with changing the director on your second movie.
Yeah. No, that was in the first movie. That she said she'll tell them later.
But she doesn't get a chance to later in that movie. Which I'll get to. It comes up here pretty quick.
Okay.
But this vision, right? When she sees Kylo, he's wearing his helmet in this vision. She sees him on the snow planet wearing his helmet with the hood down. When she actually sees Kylo on the snow planet, his helmet is off.
Yep.
This, I think, is actually a much bigger moment than most people realize. Because this lightsaber isn't just showing her Luke's life. It's showing Ben's.
Right.
It's showing Kylo's life. It shows Luke the last time he had the lightsaber, where he gets his hand cut off. Then it shows Luke at the location of the Jedi Temple when it's burning, as he's holding onto R2.
Right.
Meaning that the lightsaber has continued to have a connection to the Skywalker family even after no one's wielded it.
Yeah, I think Anakin pretty much made it, like, so much blood on that fucking lightsaber, like...
Well, this is important because then we see Kylo with the Knights of Ren having killed a bunch of people. Meaning the Force, again, considers him to be the next Skywalker.
Right. Well, he's a Skywalker. It's not...
Right, but the Force is saying he's the next one in the bloodline.
Which he is.
Because it's following him.
Yep.
And then to see him on the planet in the future wearing the helmet implies that the lightsaber is only showing us the darkest moments.
There's another implication of this scene that I can't mention unless you already... What do you know about the third movie? I know we're trying to see the first one, but there's an implication in the first movie that when you go back and look at it, kind of makes more sense. To me, is where it comes from, actually, why she says and says and shit.
Is this the implication that Snoke is trying to manipulate her?
Oh god, no. This is... Okay, never mind. I'll just say it for later. Never mind.
Okay.
I'll come back to it, sorry. I thought you knew because of spoilers and shit, but...
No, I don't fucking...
You don't know what happens in the third movie, though? Or...
I know Palpatine comes back, but this wouldn't make sense with her being Palpatine's kid.
Why not?
Why would it?
He's Force imbued and he has a connection to Luke.
He doesn't.
What do you mean?
Palpatine has no connection to Luke.
With Anakin and the influence, he's connected to the Skywalker bloodline also, anyway.
No. So, here's the thing. Palpatine didn't make Anakin. Plagueis made Anakin.
Okay.
Palpatine was Plagueis' apprentice and didn't know about Anakin. Then, he happens upon Anakin and manipulates him emotionally, but not through the Force. Then, tricks him and uses him as his own personal Death Knight throughout the rise of the Empire, and dies to Anakin. But he has no effect on Luke whatsoever. When he attempts to persuade Luke, Luke outright denies him, showing that Palpatine holds no sway. Her being related to Palpatine has nothing to do with this sequence.
Talking about her natural Force ability. It comes from that, probably. Not from any connection with the Skywalkers, though.
I'm not saying this is her connection to the Skywalkers.
Oh, I see. Okay.
No, the lightsaber is showing her Ben's life.
Oh, sorry.
Because it's connected to the Skywalkers.
Okay.
Not her. No, the lightsaber itself has kept its connection to the Skywalker family.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go.
Because it's a Force... it's a fucking massive Force object.
It's a goddamn relic that belongs in a museum.
It's a relic of their family.
Yeah.
And that's a common thing in Star Wars, especially in the extended universe, was that items could be imprinted with family lines. To the point where, like, Marker Ragnos has a staff that just grabbing it and bringing it to his tomb, you could revive him with.
Nice. Because
it was so imbued with him from being around him and him using it for millennia. So, like... the idea is that this lightsaber is so connected to the Skywalker line that's why it's flashing these visions of the Skywalkers to her. The reason she's getting flashed is because it's still a powerful Force object. So she has that quick memory of herself. Because it's just simply overwhelming her emotions. Not that her being in that sequence is her being a Skywalker.
Okay.
You understand what I mean? The reason I say where I was going with this originally is the reason Ben having the helmet on is important is that the lightsaber is showing only dark moments.
I see.
It doesn't show a single happy moment through all the visions.
Okay.
It shows Luke when he's devastated and loses his hand and finds out that Vader's his dad. It shows Luke seeing the temple fall apart after his own mistake. It shows Kylo massacring people, which we know from what we've been seeing of Kylo that this is a struggle for him and that it pains him to do it. And then we see Kylo on the final planet, on the Starkiller base, in his helmet. I think that final vision is the lightsaber saying that he's going to fall. It's warning her that he's going to fall to the dark side.
Okay.
Which he does. He falls because he kills fucking Han.
Yep.
And so this is the lightsaber trying to warn her because it knows where the Skywalker family line is leading. And she just happens to be... I think if anyone would have grabbed it, it would have shown essentially the same visions. The only one being different, the one that she saw of her greatest pain, which was her family leaving. Which I think that is the only reason we see that scene, is because it is her greatest pain. Luke's two greatest pains of his life was seeing his, finding out his father was his greatest enemy, and losing all the students he tried to teach. Kylo's greatest pain is killing a ton of innocents, and what will eventually be him killing his father. It's showing the greatest pains of the Skywalkers, and likewise, because she's the one holding the saber, she sees her greatest pain. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I think this is huge because it implies that this vision, because one of the big things about visions in Star Wars is that they can be changed.
Sure.
Like, a vision isn't set in place.
Well, obviously, Anakin wasn't fucking set in stone.
Right. Meaning if Han wouldn't have gone...
Onto the planet, you mean?
Yeah. Kylo could have been saved.
Probably. I mean, it's a good character arc. Harrison Ford wanted to die. I don't know. I'm not...
Oh, I don't mind Han dying in total. I'm just saying, in the overarching of this story, for what is being presented in this movie, it implies that there was a chance for him to be saved.
I see, okay. Yeah.
Ma then tells Rey that who she's waiting for isn't coming back, but she could bring Luke back.
Right.
Just pretty much outright telling her, hey, it's time to grow up. Your family's not coming back. But Rey tells her she doesn't ever want to touch that fucking lightsaber again. She wants no fucking part of this and runs the fuck off.
Yep.
Which I think she is in full right to do so.
Yeah. That'd be creepy.
That is the most legitimate reaction to getting Force visions.
Yeah.
Like, fuck this, I'm out. But yeah, so then fucking, quick. Oh, I had to fucking click something real quick. But yeah, so then, because she runs away and she runs to try and find Finn, because she's now gonna run away with him. And then we find out, from the Admiral that the Republic has been quietly supporting the Resistance all along. And the First Order does the Nazi hail. Which, Jesus Christ.
Well,
like, that scene is just so on the nose.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, it hurts. Then they tell us that the planet gun, then they use the planet gun while standing on its surface to blow up the core worlds. So I have a few comments about this.
Oh, yeah, the multi-pronged laser that is better than the Death Star.
It's not a multi-pronged laser.
Okay.
So this is something I have to... It is a straight, direct cannon. The hole doesn't fire in multiple directions, it's one big beam. And they stand on the surface as a gun releases the heat from a sun and shoots it across the galaxy. Everyone on the planet of that surface should be dead. Everyone. Do you have any idea how quickly you would melt just getting that planet near a star?
It had shields?
Something like let's talk about shields.
I don't
Let's talk about... I'm glad you brought that up. Let's talk about shields.
Okay, shit, I didn't mean to...
Why do none of the core worlds have shields?
Oh, this isn't where you thought you were going with it. Okay, well, I don't know. I don't know what shield technology is like at this time.
Here's the thing. The movie does. And it tells us that the planet base, has shields. A planetary shield.
Okay, cool. Great.
Capable of blocking the weapon they fire.
Okay.
Why doesn't Coruscant? Why don't the core worlds have planetary shields? Planetary shields have been a thing since fucking Hoth.
It's true. Well, I think Clone Wars 2 had planetary shields.
There is, but in movies, they've specifically mentioned planetary shields since Hoth.
Yeah.
So, what the fuck? And this is just never brought up.
I didn't think of it, actually, to be honest. This isn't something I even considered.
Yeah, what? But I thought of it because they literally mention it back to back.
How they have shields
they go,
the Star
use the
base, but not for the core worlds.
Yeah, they're like,
oh, man.
We have the shield, they're like, the base can't be destroyed because it has the shields. And then it shoots the core worlds.
Wait, what if, hypothetically, the laser's strong enough to penetrate the shields?
That doesn't make sense either, because if the gun was strong enough to destroy shields, it would destroy the own planetary shield of the base it's on.
No, what if it turned the no, because it's like a door, right? So it opens the... you've seen this before in other Star Wars things. When
right, where they...
blockade and they can open a section of the shield. This in Rogue
Yeah,
One.
but they don't in this one. It just shoots.
Maybe they didn't show it. I don't know. I'm trying to save this movie somehow. I don't know why I'm trying to save it. It's wrong.
I don't know.
I realized I don't know why I'm trying to save it. It was just wrong.
It's really bad. It's a massive plot hole.
Whoops.
Because, why the fuck do none of the core worlds have shields?
The sad part is we didn't even know anything about which core worlds got blown up.
That's the other thing. They never say which ones they are.
I have no idea which ones blew up, to be honest.
They just say that they blew up the Senate, which is the assumption that it's on Coruscant. But in reality, you've established nothing. For all I know, the Coruscant's on Yavin.
Right.
The Senate's on Yavin. I don't fucking know. What planets did you blow up? Because if I think of the core worlds, I think of Corellia, Coruscant, Biss, and maybe Freysia. But that's weird planets to blow up, given Coruscant's really the only one that matters.
Unless Coruscant doesn't matter. Yeah, see, it doesn't make sense.
Right, there's so many, blowing up multiple planets doesn't make any fucking sense. Also, the planets are way too close together.
Yes. God, yeah.
In that scene when they shoot, the planets are, in the same solar system.
The fact that you can see multiple planets together is wrong.
Yeah, is what is happening here?
It's so bad.
And they're big. It's not like there's a bunch of small planets we're really zoomed out. They're
dots,
big.
Yeah.
These planets were gonna collide anyways.
When I first saw that scene, I thought my eyes were tricking me. I didn't see a black bar separating them in to show multiple frames. But
right, there must have been a cut or something. No, they're all one scene. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So then Rey is in the woods when she runs into BB-8 and they see the First Order arrive. Finn is given the lightsaber. Rey kills her first man and then runs. She uses a blaster that Han Solo gave her and she shoots her first person. And full credit to that actress again. She played that scene very well. A very realistic reaction to killing your first person. She seemed kind of horrified, but also that yay, I did it, but also I just killed someone. So a very good scene. Finn starts killing. Yeah. Finn starts killing motherfuckers like mad till he fights the Tonfa dude.
Yep.
Which is a great fight, by the way.
Yeah.
I want to point out that literally until he fights the Tonfa dude, we see Finn just running up and like full blown like stabbing motherfuckers in the chest. Like, he's not like swinging it like a baseball bat or a sword. He's just running up and impaling motherfuckers with the lightsaber.
I think that's his stormtrooper combat training that's going on there.
Yeah, like this man is not using this as like an elegant weapon. Yeah. This man is using this like a fucking combat knife, and I love it. I think it's hilarious.
He's like, this thing kills easily. Why bother swinging it when I can?
Yeah, like he just bah! And you're like, damn, that's fucking rude. And then...
Which again implied that Finn was supposed to be the more Force-sensitive one. Or, like, we'd have two Jedis, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I 100% think Rey and Finn were both supposed to be Jedis.
Yeah.
And the big gimmick would be that... I think the big original gimmick for these movies was going to be that we had two Jedis. Kind of mirroring the prequels.
Yeah, kind of like Episode 1, yeah.
Yeah, where it's this return of... Like, the Jedi are coming back. The Force is awakening in more than just the Jedi.
Yeah.
Then they all get captured, right as the Resistance shows up. Which I think is something everyone forgets. They lose. Han, Chewie, and Finn all lose.
Yeah, I know that.
And then immediately, as they're being walked, the fucking Resistance shows up and just starts massacring motherfuckers.
Hell yeah.
I have a note here. This is note 121. Poe is an amazing pilot.
Yeah, he's better than Anakin, I think, technically.
I legitimately think him and Anakin would be the coolest dogfight to see in my life. Oh, yeah. Poe is a fucking amazing pilot. That man is just a good pilot, period.
Yep.
Like, holy shit, well played.
Yeah, he's the pilot, yeah.
Kylo sneaks up on Rey, and she tries her best to shoot him, which I will give her full credit. She lit the fuck out of him. Mm-hmm. Nothing lands, but man, she is giving it her all.
Yeah.
Because she's like backing up and shooting, and then she like gets up on a rock and shoots down at him. Like, she is doing everything she can to get this motherfucker to die. Full credit to her. That is such a real reaction to, I just had a nightmare, like a daymare, about this motherfucker, and then he showed up in the woods. No. It'd be like having a dream about Freddy Krueger, and then you're walking around and Freddy Krueger shows up in your day-to-day life while you've got a gun in your hand. You're just gonna start shooting. You're not gonna fucking, like, she doesn't say anything, she doesn't fucking ask questions, she just sees him and starts fucking firing, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love it. It's great.
Hell yeah.
He cheats and uses Force Stasis to freeze her. Kylo knocks Rey out with the Force and kidnaps her as Finn and Han both look on. Han in horror seeing Kylo, and Finn literally screaming and trying to chase the shuttle. Which, in fairness, so remember how previously I pointed out why doesn't Poe shoot at the ship? Mm-hmm. In this scene, Finn doesn't have his gun anymore. So there's an actual reason why he's not shooting at the ship.
Right.
Finn only has the lightsaber at this point. And so I thought that was...
lightsaber, to be honest. But he didn't.
Well, what are you gonna... He can't throw... He doesn't have Force. It would be the equivalent of, like, throwing a stick.
Yeah.
You're not going to do anything.
I don't know.
You're not going to reach the shuttle that's already in the air.
Yes.
Can you throw a stick to hit a plane?
No.
There you go. Han sees Leia for the first time, and C3PO. Welcome back, C3PO.
Mm-hmm. He does nothing.
Han...
In this whole series.
Huh?
C3PO does absolutely nothing.
He really does, and it's weird to see, like C3PO and R2, who are the two main characters of the franchise, not get screen time.
They pretty much do nothing for this whole series. I don't know why.
Which is weird, because they're the main characters.
Even when fucking
I know
I don't know.
C3PO was kind of in the background in the prequels.
Well, even in the original trilogy, he didn't do that much.
But R2 has always been front and center, so for him not to be was really weird.
Yeah, because they want BB-8 to be the new droid. Because fuck R2.
Which he doesn't make any sense. But anyways, so then Han tells Leia that he saw their son, and I will give full credit to both Harrison Ford and I can't think of her name.
Fisher.
Carrie Fisher. Their acting in this moment is fucking amazing.
My favorite scene.
They both have a very real sadness about the want to see their kid again, and kind of this like joy of knowing he's still alive, but also this deep regret of what happened. It's very well done. Finn sees Poe for the first time since the crash, and they hug and are again best friends. It's a great scene. It's adorable. I love seeing them see each other, and they're both so hyped to find out the other one's alive.
Hell yeah.
Like, they're so excited.
Yeah,
and then
he's
like,
you live too?
yeah, and then he's like, yeah, that's my jacket. And he's like, yeah, and he goes to take it off, and he's like, no, it looks good on you. You look good. And he's like, I'm so proud of my friend. Like, it's
Hell yeah,
great.
dude. It's awesome.
BB-8 finds R2. Leia points out that it was her who sent Kylo away, and she knows who Snoke is. And she thinks Han can save Kylo. There's a few things with this. One, Leia knowing, or Leia admitting that she's the one who sent away Kylo. The way she says it very implies that she didn't tell Han. Because she states that it's the same day she lost both of them, implying that while Han was off doing something else, she sent Kylo to Luke. Han came back, found out she gave their kid away, and left. Meaning it's Leia who's responsible for the loss of their relationship.
Do you think
which also means Kylo probably doesn't know that his dad was against it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So even more so, that scene of Han trying to save his son, again, thinks his dad not only knew what Luke did, but probably sent him there in the first place, despite having no idea that his dad was against all of it.
Yeah, because Han notoriously doesn't like Jedi at all.
Right, like Han was actually a good dad.
Yeah.
And Leia is it's her fault.
Fucking Leia, goddammit.
Which is a huge reveal.
Yeah.
As well as Leia knowing who Snoke is.
Well, she's been in the general. She knows. That wasn't surprising to me.
It should be.
Why?
She directly states that Snoke is the one who made Kylo fall. Here's the thing.
Wait, what? Maybe I missed
yeah,
that.
she directly says that it's not our fault. It's Snoke's fault for seducing him to the dark side.
To be completely fair, though, before the second movie, that could have made sense.
How?
Well, because remember, before the second movie, we don't know what's going on with Luke at all. We don't know anything about it. There's no implication that there's a Jedi temple. That's not a thing yet. That has not been established as a thing. Oh
no, we do know that he had a Jedi temple.
How do we know that? From the first
because
one?
when Han talks to Rey about why Luke disappeared, he says that Luke was trying to rebuild the Jedi, and then one of his apprentices ended up killing all of them. And Luke ran away because he couldn't deal with it.
Okay.
So, even more so, I'm confused on why does Leia know who Snoke is? How do they have any knowledge that Snoke has any bit of Force inclination? How do they know who he is?
Honestly, I wouldn't worry about Snoke that much anyway. He's not that.
Well, I know he dies, but it has huge question marks. Because the way they talk about Snoke almost makes Snoke feel like Snoke should have been... Like, I'm not gonna lie. There's a hot minute where I was like, it almost feels like they're talking about Snoke like Obi-Wan talked about Vader about Anakin.
Yeah.
Like, it almost seems to almost hint that, like, Snoke is Luke, and Luke has fallen and changed his name. Like, it's weird, because we know that's not true, but, like, it's so weirdly done. Like, Snoke is set up as if everyone knows him, as if he's, like, a close family friend that has made this horrible decision and has deceived Kylo. Like, it's such an odd moment. Kylo reveals his mask, showing he is also young.
Yep.
And I think this is another huge point for this movie. Kylo revealing his mask, Rey literally seems surprised to see how young he is.
Yeah.
Meaning that Rey, who is on her own, a very childlike adult who has never been raised, on the opposite end, we have a kid who was raised poorly and never treated like a child. We can kind of glimmer from how he speaks and how he acts that he's in that teenager mode where he's never been treated like an adult. He's never been treated like a kid. He's just been expected to do things. You know?
Right.
He then uses the Force to read her mind, but he can't see the map. He reads her emotions about Han Solo, wishing he was a surrogate parent for her. A bunch of stuff. Rey then blunt force begins to resist and pushes back into Kylo's head instead.
Yeah.
And I will say the acting here actually makes a lot of sense. Because the way Kylo acts it is very much so he's still a fledgling starter. He's still learning to control his abilities. And he clearly has never used them against someone else who has the Force. Because the way Force persuasion works, and the way reading someone's mind works...
It has to be a weaker mind, right?
No! So persuading someone, it has to be a weaker mind. But reading someone's mind, it's a two-way corridor. When you read someone else's mind, if they're also Force sensitive, they can read yours. In order to stop that, you have to know specific tricks to do so. You have to focus on other things. You have to think about other things. You have to try and block them from getting the information you want. A great example of this is Atton Ran from the Knights of the Republic 2 series. In Knights of the Republic 2, Atton Ran explains that he is constantly calculating the hyperdrive. He's counting the clicks in the engine. He's constantly playing Pazak in his head because he knows there are multiple Jedi on board. And so to keep them out of his head, he both thinks about whatever he's thinking about and plays a game of Pazak.
That's awesome.
And so they're constantly seeing the game of Pazak if they read his head. That's all they'll ever see, is the game that he's tricking them. And likewise, in this moment, we actually see Rey attempt to do it before he gets in her head. Because he asks about the droid, and she starts listing off all of the mechanical specs of BB-8. Meaning she already has this thought in her head of just bullshit him. Just say, just talk about the specs of the droid without actually giving any information of the droid. So then when he starts getting in her head and he starts reading her mind, we can see that moment where she takes a second and breathes and starts really thinking. You can see she's focusing on what she's thinking. And she's trying to stop him, and then you can see that moment where her eyes kind of widen and she realizes she can see what's in his head. And she calls him out. She's like, you are afraid you're not going to be as strong as Vader. And Kylo rips his hand away. Because he realizes he's left his door open. He left his mind open when he went wandering into hers. And it's a real panic moment, and you can see that he's never dealt with someone else who can use the Force. Even someone who's new to it. And by going into her head the way he did and forcing his way in, he's essentially forced her the knowledge of how to do it. Because he's shown her in the depths of her mind how to do what he's doing.
Oh boy.
And so it's literally his fault that she can now do this. And so he panics and he fucks off to Snoke. And is like, hey, this chick is fucking strong. Like, we got a problem. And Snoke's like, okay, well, if that's right, then bring her to me. And then this is something I want to point out, because again, a lot of the stuff from this movie I feel has been, we've either misrepresented or misremembered in our minds, because she mind controls a stormtrooper.
Oh yeah, that was fun. I like that.
However, she fails to do it 3 times.
That stormtrooper was Daniel Craig, by the way.
Yeah, I knew that.
I loved it.
She tries to fucking mind control him 3 times and fails. To the point where he's threatening to start torturing her for her trying to convince him to let her go.
Right.
Then she finally has that moment where she realizes it's not working because I am stuttering. I'm panicking. I'm not calm. And she takes a moment, takes a deep breath. straightens her face and says it calmly and with focus. And you can see that where it's like her opening the door into the stormtrooper's head.
Yep.
And she says it, and he does what she says. And those scenes are played so fucking well. It's exactly what you want to see.
Yeah.
And then the planet gun fucking sucks up the sun, but instead of removing the sun and destroying systems, they want to wait days for it to suck up the sun, and then, an extra fucking 20 minutes to fire it.
Mm-hmm.
I just put that in there as a note because I think the planet weapon is dumb.
Well.
Because it does literally take them days to suck up that fucking sun. Like, it's ridiculous.
Well, it's a Death Star,
Yeah. Finn, Han, and Chewie head to the planet.
Well, is it worse if it can kill 5 planets at once?
No, because if you just suck up suns, you can kill a solar system at once.
Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Couldn't you suck up the center of the galaxy? Wait.
Yeah, you could just suck up this star in the center of each solar system, and then not only would you destroy that solar system, but those planets would go careening out into space, smashing into other planets. Yeah, no, they're using this weapon in the dumbest way possible. Yeah.
That is the First Order. They're not very competent anyway.
Finn, Han, and Chewie head to the planet. Kylo feels Han land the second he lands. Like, literally, it shows the scene where, they crash onto the planet, and they're, slide in the snow, and it immediately hard cuts to Kylo, whipping his head as he literally is like, Han Solo. Like, he immediately knows his dad is there. Which is great. Phasma gets kidnapped by Chewie. Also, we learn of Phasma's name.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, we finally got there. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yep. We're in the last third of the movie.
Thank God.
And we just learned her name. Because fucking Finn gets right up in her face and is like, yeah, I'm in charge now, Phasma. How you like that? I'm in charge. It's a really long time for a fucking character to not have a name. Admiral Pilt had a fucking name in the first movie.
Who?
Admiral Pilt?
Piet?
Yeah. Fuck it. Yeah, he has a name in the first movie.
Yeah, I love Piet. Yeah, he's great.
They call him Lieutenant in the first movie, before he even shows up in the second.
Didn't he get promoted twice, and he also a commander? That's the end.
No, Admiral's the highest. Admiral and then Grand Moff are the two big ones. And then Rey wanders the base, trying not to get caught, which she does really well. I do like that in the beginning of the movie when they show her being a scavenger, she's very parkour, climbing all around. So when she's crawling through the base, trying not to get caught, she's doing much the same. She opens a vent and goes in the vent because she understands where it would go, because she just generally understands how you would build this kind of thing. Rey rejoins the group. Han separates from Chewie and they start placing bombs around the base. Han finds Kylo. The saddest and best acted part of the movie happens.
When Chewie screams.
It's just Han tells Kylo that Snoke is using him and to come home. Kylo kills Han. Leia feels his death from across the galaxy.
That was sad.
Chewie shoots Kylo. It is the saddest part. I legitimately almost cried watching it again, and I was like, I forgot how good this movie was.
Yeah, that was...
I forgot there is really good shit in this movie, because this is, that scene is so well played, and you can see, that moment where he's like, I know what I have to do, but I don't think I have the strength to do it. He is torn, that he knows he needs to kill his dad so he can stay on the dark side. But he really doesn't think he has the strength. Also, a great a just beautiful piece of cinematography in that moment is in that moment, right? The big gun is still sucking up the sun, and so there's light coming in, shining on Kylo's face, and then the last of the sun gets sucked up.
Yeah, after he kills his dad.
And the light dissipates from his face, and all of a sudden you can see that shift in his face. And here's the thing, though. I don't think this is just a symbolic moment. Because one, yeah, it's clearly a symbolic moment of him deciding to go with the dark side. But I think it's also a real moment of, I think Kylo still thinks there's hope as long as he can see the sun, because he knows that the fucking, the gun needs to suck up the sun. And I think in that moment when the sun goes out, Kylo has this realization, this thought of, that's it. The hope's gone. We're going to destroy the resistance.
Yep.
This is it. I don't have a choice. I have to kill my dad now.
Yeah.
I think that literally is an actual moment of him losing faith. The last moment where he feels he's lost the choice. Because I think before that moment when the sun goes out, he's literally in turmoil. He's thinking, I could leave. This could be it. I could go home. But the second the sun goes out, he gives up. And ironically, I blame Rey for this moment.
Because
Rey and Chewie enter through the door and leave the door open, which is shining the light in. And that's when he sees the light go out.
Oh, shit.
So if they hadn't opened the door, I think he would have had a higher chance of actually going back.
Goddamn.
Saddest fucking moment. And yet Chewie screams, shoots Kylo directly in the gut with a fucking bowcaster.
Which is awesome, because we just proved earlier how powerful the bowcaster is.
Yeah, it's a great scene to both set up just how strong Kylo is for being able to stay on his feet when he gets hit by it. Like, he doesn't fall off the platform as well as sell just how injured he is for the upcoming scenes. Also, Chewie immediately detonates the bombs.
Hell yeah.
Chewie does not wait for anyone to get clear. He doesn't wait for shit. You can see that Chewie is okay with death.
Yeah.
He has just lost the best friend of it. Yeah, like, he is literally, that's it, I'm out.
Yeah.
Fucking, he hit that button, with purpose. Which I think is just...
Shit. I didn't even watch the movie. I might cry right now, dude.
It's a very sad part.
I don't know.
Oh, and then in this part, Finn and Kylo lock eyes as Rey and Finn attempt to flee.
Yeah, and they kind of recognize each other and realize...
This is a huge moment, because Han just died, Chewie shot him, and he looks up, and instead of looking at Chewie, his eye gets drawn to Finn. And Rey is already turning back and leaving, and Finn makes eye contact with him again. Again, really hinting that these two are our antithesis to each other. Kylo is a man who was light and is trying to be dark, and Finn is someone who's raised to be dark and is trying to be light. They are the perfect opposites of each other. And in that, they hate each other.
Yep.
Kylo hates to see someone who is being saved and leaving the darkness that he's fighting so hard to be a part of, and Finn hates to see someone trying to be there when he wanted so desperately to leave. And so that happens. Kylo fucking looks up, sees them, they start running away. Somehow he gets in front of them outside in the most horror movie slasher killer moment.
Right.
Which is terrifying, by the way.
Yeah, it's brutal as fuck.
And then he just fucking force pushes Rey and knocks her out while he's fucking bleeding and starts punching his fucking wound. Which is very, it's a very teenager thing to do. That, knock it off. You know, you're trying to toughen yourself up, but you're doing a dumb thing by hurting yourself more. I used to do that when I was a dumb teenager. When I would get hurt in fights and stuff, I punch yourself in the face more, because you're trying to numb the pain. You're trying to get it to a point where it's numb. Because you don't want to look like a bitch. You're trying to convince yourself you're tough. And so you're hurting yourself more. It's a really dumb thing to do, but it's a very teenager thing to do.
Honestly, I've never done that to myself.
You've also never been in a fight.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference.
Oh.
It's something rebellious kids do.
See, I'm not rebellious. I don't.
No, you're a good old soy boy.
Hell yeah.
No, it's very much so like a rebellious, edgy kid. A kid who is in a fight and gets hit and is trying to convince himself he doesn't hurt. You know, it's that like, no, I'm good, I can take it, you can't fuck with me, while meanwhile you're like, my face is killing me. God, this hurts so bad, I'm trying just not to cry. But you don't want to look like a bitch, so you're hitting yourself. And that's very much so Kylo in this moment. He's upset because he just killed his dad. He's upset because someone he hates is across from him, but he doesn't want to look weak. He needs to validate himself, so he's hitting his wound. It's very much so a angsty teen trying to deal with all the emotions at once. Kylo toys with Finn while fighting him. Holy shit, he really is toying the absolute shit with Finn. Like, he is swirling the lightsaber, like, flourishing it. He's fucking, like, barely focused on him. Finn gets a good shot on Kylo and hits him in the shoulder. Kylo immediately loses his shit and fucking cuts Finn. Okay. When Kylo cuts Finn, where does he cut him?
Up the back, I believe it is.
Right, that's where everyone thinks it is. That's where I thought it was. However, when Rey comes to check on him later, it's up his shoulder.
Oh, that wound changes so much anyway, dude. It doesn't.
Right.
It'll change in the next movie,
I swear it sliced up his back because that's why he's, like, out. It's because his spine's been fucking carved.
It'll change in the next movie, too. It's fine.
So anyways, he puts fucking Finn down the second Finn actually hits him. Like, he's done.
Yeah.
Then he tries to, because he disarms him and then he hits him up the back, and then he tries to pull Luke's lightsaber, but Rey pulls it instead.
Which is awesome. I like that scene.
And she tries to fight Kylo, which I'll point out that Kylo also is toying with Rey.
What do you mean?
When he's fighting Rey, he's also toying with her.
How do you know
like
that?
she's
I feel like it.
Oh no, when they're first fighting, he is toying with her entirely. Just like he was to Finn a second ago. Like, she's swinging very wildly, and he's very, like, scoffing, like, deflecting her shot into a tree, and then he, like, dodges and blocks it over that way. And he's very lazy about how he's fighting her. Like, he is not putting his best effort into this fight. Then the trench run happens, where Poe fucking proves again that he's the best pilot I've ever seen, and flies his fucking X-Wing with folded wings into a crack in the wall.
Yeah.
And shoots up. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Literally, the note underneath that is Poe is an ungodly good pilot.
Yeah, Poe is OP as fuck.
The base is disabled and the planet starts falling apart. Kylo tries to turn Rey. Now, this is a huge point. Again, he has been toying with her this whole fight. And he gets the lightsaber pushed up against her. She's near the cliff because the planet's starting to fall apart. And she's barely standing there, and it's like getting closer to her, and he's like, you're untaught, you've got potential, but you need a teacher. I could teach you how to use the Force. And Rey calms down, and she goes, the Force. And she has this moment where she uses the Force to focus. And this is a callback because when Ma was talking to her, Maz was talking to her and told her, when she was trying to convince her to take the lightsaber, she's like, close your eyes. Let the Force flow through you. It can save your life. And so in this moment, she's remembering Ma's words. And she fucking focuses and shoves Kylo off. And all of a sudden, full credit though, she is still swinging like a bat out of hell. There's no technique to how she's swinging. She is just whiffling this thing like it's a fucking baseball bat. But you can see, I don't know if anyone noticed this, her lightsaber is changing when she swings.
What? What do you mean?
There's a clear, like, Force aura over her lightsaber.
Is there? Oh.
Yeah, where when she hits, it's, like, going woof, and it's having, like, little bursts of power. So, like, she's literally doing what Vader used to do and channeling the Force into her swings.
Huh.
Which is why Kylo is all of a sudden on the back foot. Because he went from toying with her to all of a sudden she's hitting way above her weight class. And then when he goes to start getting, like, fighting seriously, she fucking stabs him in the shoulder.
Yeah.
Like, she gets a full stab on his fucking shoulder.
Hey, wait a minute. Yeah, he got stabbed in the shoulder.
Yeah.
They forgot about that in the second movie, too. Sorry. I just got it.
And then he fucking, like, deflects her lightsaber away and she stabs him again in the gut. And then he fucking is, like, dying, trying to fucking catch his breath as she's just like wailing at him.
And then
what
happens?
Well, and then because then he gets up and he goes to hit her again, and she fucking smacks his lightsaber down and swings up and does that big cut across his face. And then he hits the ground, and she like fucking swings. He hits the ground, and she pulls that lightsaber up like she's about to end his fucking life, and then the ground opens up and fucking separates the two of them.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, in this scene, I think this is a great moment where they could have used this later as an explanation of the Force saving his life. Because one of the big, overarching themes in Star Wars is the Force has a will of its own.
Right. Yeah.
And so this would literally be a moment of Rey is winning so absolutely, but the Force knows this isn't where Kylo's supposed to die.
Okay.
So it's saving him by splitting the planet along this one moment.
Okay.
To separate their destinies. Because that fucking fight is amazing. This is my note of Finn got cut up the shoulder based on where the cut is on his jacket.
It's bad, yeah.
Finn and Rey get aboard the Falcon and escape the planet's destruction. The planetary shields on the base before it explodes. Oh, the planetary shields are on the base before it explodes, but apparently not on any of the core worlds.
Yeah.
Rey hugs Leia as they both mourn Han's passing.
And not Chewie. Chewie doesn't get a fucking hug. No one fucking acknowledges him.
He actually does.
I don't.
When it zooms out, Han is being hugged by all the rest of the Resistance members.
You mean Chewie?
Or Chewie, yeah. Chewie's being hugged by all the rest of the Resistance members.
Not fucking Leia. I don't know. It just really bugs me.
I think because Leia, like in that moment, Chewie, I think also doesn't want to deal with it. Like Chewie still, it's fresh for him. You know what I mean? Where like Rey, and because you also have to remember that like this is gonna sound mean, but Han is kind of a pet to Chewie. And like Wookiees live for so long. Han was only ever going to be around for such a small portion of his life.
Yes, but
so in Chewie's head, he's probably braced for that moment. And while in the moment it was still horrific, he can kind of collect himself a little bit faster because he's been prepping for it. You know what I mean?
Maybe. I just didn't like.
Kind of like when have you had any of your grandparents pass?
Of course. Who doesn't at our age?
So how were any of your grandparents in bad health?
That's how they die of old age. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
old age and bad health is different.
My grandma died of cancer. It's probably the closest I could think of.
So you had time to mentally prep yourself that she was probably going to go.
Yeah, she died when I was 14.
Right. So you probably knew she was going.
Yeah, I mean, I knew well enough that I was at that age where my mom what had happened was I think this might have been a couple months before she actually passed away, but there were restrictions on when you could go see people in the hospital and stuff at the time for some reason. So when I was scheduled to spend time with my friends or whatever and stuff, and my mom was like, "Hey, do you want to go visit your grandma in the hospital, or do you want to go spend time with your friend?" And she thought I wouldn't want to bother because I didn't think we really realized she was going to die at that point yet. That's why she even gave me a choice. But I decided to go see my grandma anyway. And then from after that, I kind of realized accidentally almost that was going to be the last time I was going to see her. So I don't know. I was kind of prepared for it, but not I don't know. It's still sad. I don't know. The funeral was rough.
And so I feel like that's kind of the same thing for Chewie. Well, when he actually sees Han die, it's a huge emotional moment. Right. And it's not that he's not sad when he comes back, but he's more trying to move on. He's trying to not think about it.
I suppose.
Which also, I'm just going to say, I'm mad that Han doesn't get a funeral.
Yeah.
Vader got a fucking fire funeral.
Well, that was a private one with just Luke. Maybe Leia.
It wasn't just Luke. It was all the rebels.
No.
On Endor.
No, that was a separate thing. The funeral was a separate scene from the Endor party.
It's still on Endor.
Yeah, it's on Endor, but I'm saying Luke's funeral was just him and his dad. And then he joins, because there's a scene in the party where Luke shows up out of the woods from out of nowhere to hang out with the rest of them.
So
he did it privately. You didn't notice that?
Okay, I didn't notice that, no.
Yeah, Luke did that funeral thing on his own. Because remember, he landed separately in the Lambda away from everyone else.
Does that mean it's somewhat... Oh, God.
Well, I guess that's... remember that?
I guess that's our answer on to why we find Vader's helmet.
Because it was burned... Well, I thought it got burned up in Endor. I thought it wouldn't have survived the burning in the funeral thing. That's why I was surprised they even had it.
Yeah, I don't know. Does that mean the rest of Vader's suit is still...
on Endor, yeah.
Yeah, probably. Kind of burnt to pieces.
No, here's the fucked up thing. Actually, I remember now, Vader's helmet, I think it blew up in the Death Star. Because remember, he took his helmet off and,
We took his helmet off when they were on the ramp of the shuttle. I don't know if fucking Luke brought it with him.
Why would he bring it? I don't know. Maybe he brought it. They didn't show it.
I don't know. Oh, Luke's weird. He's a weird kid.
Luke's a weird character on his own right. But
yeah. So anyways, R2 wakes up. R2 and BB-8 have the full map. Finn is in a coma. Rey leaves to find Luke. Rey climbs 1,000 steps to find Luke standing on top of the island on a forgotten world. Something that I thought was interesting is that Luke seems surprised that she found him, but he seems even more surprised to see his lightsaber, and then seems to be very clearly overwhelmed with a very deep sadness.
He probably senses Han is dead, I think, in that moment.
I'm assuming he already felt that Han died.
You think?
I think him seeing the lightsaber is him remembering.
Maybe. It's never officially acknowledged in any of the movies. Because Luke straight up never ever acknowledges Han's death ever.
I'm not surprised.
It's sad.
I think it's also I think something to that point is that Han or Luke seeing the lightsaber. I think it's very much so because he ran away, right? And so I think that sadness that he has on his face is very much so this it followed me. Right. I tried to stop being a fucking Jedi, and it fucking chased me to the end of the galaxy.
Right.
It's that depression, I cannot be free of this.
Do you remember, do you happen to know what Luke does at the beginning of the second movie? Or no?
Yeah, he throws it away.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
Which is fucking horrific.
I thought that was a disgusting thing to see.
Yeah, that's my next movie that I'm going to be reviewing. So everyone stay tuned for that on another day when I have probably well over the 169 notes for that fucking nightmare of a movie. And the absolute destruction of the character of Luke Skywalker, and probably them undoing all the good work they did with Rey in this movie, as well as Finn and Poe.
They rewrite the characters, dude.
Yeah. So the next one's going to be a big...
That's why Force Awakens bugs me. That's why I don't get frustrated with Force Awakens, because of the other movies. It makes Force Awakens seem really stupid.
See, so this... by the way, my last note here is overall, I would rate this movie a 6 out of 10.
That's fair. That's probably fair.
My final thoughts on this movie is it is a good movie. It's even... I would go as far as to say it's a good Star Wars movie.
Okay.
It's not a great movie. It's not the best movie.
Sure.
But it is a good Star Wars film. I would put it in a decent category as a okay, sure type of movie. I still want to feel kind of Star Warsy. I want to watch a movie. I don't want to watch one of the main 6. I'm going to watch this one.